Hello, everybody. Welcome to the third installment of Humans of Herpetoculture, the inconsistently released talk show where I, Lucas, take a deep dive with other keepers who have far more knowledge and experience than I do in the world of herps. Today, we are completing the MPR pair. I was joined by Eric Burke in the last episode, and now today, fortunate enough to be joined by none other than his better half, Owen McIntyre. As the owner of Rogue Reptiles, Owen keeps and breeds a wide variety of pythons and unique colubrids and sometimes boas, much to his own disdain. He also co-hosts Morelia Python Radio and the new show Colubrid Corner with Riley Jimison. So Owen, how are you doing today?
So far, so good. You also forgot Carpet Cliff Notes.
Carpet Cliff Notes as well.
Yeah. Well, that one, Eric roped me into it because he was like, I did Carpet Cliff Notes myself, and it's really good. And he's like, still did it by myself. You know, it's one of those things. He's like, can you help me? I'm like, all right, yeah. Like, he was, okay. You know, like, and it's just one of those things where, because it was one of those times where he's trying to get topics for Carpet Cliff Notes, and I knew the stuff, and he's like, do you just want to do it or you just want to tell me it? I'm like, I guess I could just come on with you. And like, yeah, right. That's how it started. So
right. And because at first too, like the Carpet Cliff Notes stuff was getting released under MPR at first.
Yes.
And now it is its
own
entity.
Show, its own thing. Yep.
Yeah. What's the last one you guys put out for that?
God, I don't remember. I want to say it was either, because the problem is that we recorded like 4 of them, so I don't know which one he's released yet.
Gotcha.
But I want to say it was either MBB or Redline. And then we also talked about feeding weird stuff to your snakes. And you know, I just been like, let's try fish, and it worked. So I'm like, well, shit, I know stuff here. So yeah, it was one of those things. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I want to check that out. Feeding fish. Yeah, do you feed fish now to just the colubrids? I know you're feeding to Crebo and whatnot, or have you offered fish to pythons as well?
I've offered fish to pythons several times. I did tilapia fillets to some of my females after they bred this year, because it's one of those things, like I usually just make a bowl of food for the Crebo, the blue beauties, the Madagascar hogs.
Smorgasbord.
It's like a one small rat, several chicks, maybe some quail eggs, fillets of fish, and that's what they eat. And they eat on python schedule, because I think a lot of times if you're going to feed colubrids, you got to either do it more often or just give them a big pile of food one time, you know, every 14 days. So but a lot of times they'll eat it and they'll leave like a chunk of fish or something like that. So I had my females carpets that had just laid eggs, and they're eating rats, and I'm like, well, you got to put on some weight somehow. Let's see. And they bit it and they took it. I'm like, well, hell, all right.
Did they take it off tongs or
off
did
tongs?
You leave it?
Like, yeah,
wow,
off tongs, so a big chunk of fish, and it was like a square, and they just ate it. And I'm like, all right. And then this season I had 2 babies. One was a red tiger jack from Eric that just would not feed for me, because I got it from him, I think, like just after it had its first shed. Like, I'm like, dude, you don't need to get that thing going for me. It's a carpet. And then I got it. I'm like, I hate this thing. Like, why won't it eat? Like, and it was, and then I had a baby super caramel jag born here, and he was small, and he was a little weird, and he was a little, you know, jaggy.
Interesting.
Not as bad as other ones that I've seen, but he was just very small and very weak. And obviously, you know, you're going to find out that the prettiest one in the clutch is usually the one that's a little hunky. Like, it's a little off about him. So, and he was, dear God, he's gorgeous, but he just would not eat. So I had 2 clutches of rhino rat snakes, and with them, it's, you try feeding them frozen thawed pinkies. If they don't eat, then you try feeding them fish scented pinkies. And then if they don't eat, then you just put live fish in their water bowls and they'll hunt it themselves.
Just like store-bought feeders.
Oh yeah, like little
goldfish or minnows.
Red minnows. Yep.
Okay.
That's what I usually get, because the goldfish are huge. Like, they're very wide. And
is there also some consideration with like a compound in the goldfish?
There's a lack. I was talking to Travis about this one, because there's a deficiency of B vitamin, which is something that you need to watch out for. But he and I kind of went back and forth on this, because he's like, it's not something that you would realistically have to deal with if it was just getting the animal started on something.
Okay.
to get it eating. He's like, if you were like, I've fed nothing to this animal but goldfish for its 3 years of life. He's like, yes, you're probably going to find out it's got a B vitamin deficiency.
I see.
You should add, like, it's just like that. So, but I had these, obviously they're pet store minnows. So like I get home, I set up a little 5-gallon tank of water to put them in with the filter. And yeah, I fed some of them, but I bought extra. So I had like 5 or 6 still in there. You come in the next day and one of them's belly up and you're like, oh shit. So you fish it out and you throw it in the freezer. And then I tried feeding those 2 carpets the thawed out dead minnows, and both of them ate it. And I'm like,
Very
all right,
cool.
Success. So then the next thing I did is I started putting live minnows in their water bowls and they started hunting them. All right, more success. So I started like thawing out pinkies and fuzzies with the dead minnows, and now we're at that stage right now where I usually go, because I fed them today, I'll feed them a frozen thawed minnow each. And then I will feed the one another minnow, but I'll leave it on top of a pinky mouse. Okay. So he'll eat the other minnow, and then he'll also eat the pinky.
Can you like shove the minnow
the fuzzy
in pinky's mouth?
I just lay it down on top. So I've caught him eating the minnow, and then he'll just turn and eat the fuzzy. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever.
That's so interesting.
I don't know. I can't understand it. The other one is when she eats the one minnow, she's cued in, and then I can feed her a frozen thawed fuzzy, just like a hopper or whatever.
It just turns on the light bulb.
No scented, no nothing. If I come at her without feeding her the minnow first, she hides, she recoils, she does whatever. So I have no idea why they both do this, but
I
don't care. They're eating, they're pooping, they're shedding. It's all right. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Like, I don't care.
It's really interesting that is successful, because I guess it seems like to me both the pinky and the store-bought minnows are foreign food items, right? That carpet would not be encountering. And you would think that a neonate carpet wouldn't be hunting in a stream in the open or something like that, So
I don't know, and I don't know if that's. I mean, when we were in Darwin, we did see the mud skippers, and yeah, and here's the thing, like on TV, like they zoom in on those little bastards, like they are not big animals. Like I'm like, oh, it's a mud skipper. I was expecting like a fish this big. No, they're like this. They're tiny little fuckers. But I don't know if that's on the diet. I don't know what is, but I also don't know if something just cued into their head of like, this smells weird. Is it food? Because that's a lot of times with my olive pythons, they, like the baby olives that I hatched this year, did not give a damn about frozen thawed mice. Did not care. I put a little bit of chick down on top of that mouse's head. And it was like literally one of them was turning this way and just turned back. Like it snapped back like, what? And then bit and ate it. So a lot of times.
You tried the chick down for these carpets that fed on the fish? Did they reject chick down?
They didn't want it.
That is so weird. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know, but hey, it's working. Like right now, I also have a captive born and bred blonde Madagascar hog, and he's on geckos. He was raised on geckos. So I have not gotten him to transition completely out of geckos, but the same thing. I'll thaw out a fuzzy and I'll leave a piece of the gecko on top of the fuzzy, and he'll eat everything. So like, I have a couple frozen geckos, and I'm making them. I'm stretching them out. Can
I ask what kind of geckos you use when you have to do that?
They're a house gecko.
Gotcha.
So, like, normally you put it, like, I think I fed him one frozen thawed gecko when he arrived. And then the other geckos that were sent to me by the breeder, they were already dead and frozen. So I've just you thaw it out the fuzzy with the gecko, and then you pull the tail off, and then you leave the tail on top of the fuzzy. And then the next time you cut a foot off and you leave it on top of the fuzzy. And eventually you use up that gecko, but you've had 18 different feedings on this one, thing. So and then eventually I'll get to the point where he's not going to need the gecko scenting. But that might be further down the road when he's a little bit older and he doesn't really care. So, of course, now I'm trying to breed my own blonde Madagascar hogs. So I'm like, finally, this one's off geckos. Oh, shit.
I thought you were going to say you're starting to breed your own geckos.
No, but that's the problem. It's like, so, this one will be off of geckos, and then I might get a clutch of blonde Madagascar hogs, and all those babies might have to start out on geckos. So it's like, shit. Like, why do I keep doing this to myself? So
at the vivarium, there is a population of free-ranging house geckos that I would find little eggs on top of cages, and they're, you know, everybody would be like, "Excuse me, there's a loose lizard on the ceiling."
Oh no,
like,
it's insect control.
Yeah, exactly.
I love hearing about the big facilities. How I had a friend at one where they released a bunch of tokays, or tokays got out, and they were the insect control. And then they found one that kept breaking into the cricket container and eating as many as it could. So they captured him and sold him, but he was very mean. So he's at the show, like, and like mouth wide open, screaming. Exactly. And they're like, we just need him not to come back with us, okay? Because it's like, we can't.
Smart gecko.
Yeah, we can't let him loose in the thing. We can't keep losing crickets to this guy. And
It's
it
like
was
the
fat.
octopus that crawls out at the Monterey Bay Aquarium and goes and steals the fish,
Eats
and then
the crabs
goes home.
and then goes back. Yeah. That's smart thing. Yeah.
So when you're feeding fish, you know, it's something that I've heard people talk about a lot, and it seems like a really good option. I remember on NPR, Derek Roddy mentioned that he would go and like cast net for what are they called? Those little saltwater dudes. I can't remember, but those little, you know, little fish.
I think he used to go for like trout.
Mullet? Is it mullet?
Mullet. I think he said mullet. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So have you given like any thought to or heard about from anybody else that does this, like whether there is something to be said about freshwater fish versus saltwater fish for these? Like, could feeding a saltwater fish to a reptile that lives in only freshwater environments be harmful? Is one thing
I don't think it would be. I don't think it would, because I mean, we fresh and saltwater and there's no issue. And I know a lot of people who I know people who have the elephant trunk snakes and will regularly feed tilapia to their snakes. And that's what I did for the longest time, because you can go to the store and get just bulk bags of tilapia fillets, and
fairly cheap.
It is,
and fish goes.
And you can cut it up. What I've been starting to do is, I want to say it was smelt or mullet, because it has skin on it too, and the fillets are like long and like they're not thick. So like you thaw out one and the snake can just eat the whole thing, and you're like, all right, cool. But then you chop it up, so it's like little blocks of it. But and I don't know. I think that the skin might be helpful for something. I don't know. Who cares?
Well, it's a different nutrient set for sure.
Yeah. So sure, why not? Hey, it's got scales on it. Whatever, throw it in. Like, yeah, it's fine. And I've
always wondered that though, whether it mattered, because like, I don't know. When I was working at the vivarium, I was also a fishmonger at a fish market at the same time, and I'd have all these carcasses that I'd bring, and you know they'd chuck them to the monitors and stuff like that.
I would say, like, I think most of this stuff started because I was at one point I was taking care of my friend's mangrove monitors at my house. Okay. And that was just like having a miniature velociraptor cage in your room that you could be like. And I remember at one point the store up the street from me had a sale on Cornish hens. And I just bought one, and I just put it in the cage, and they all day they were just picking, like in between the ribs, they picked it apart, they ripped it apart, and then all three of them sat there for 4 days straight, just under the heat lamps, just dear God, like, and I'm like, all right. And then about, I want to say it was 3 months later, I got eggs, and I'm like, okay, all right, and then it was one of those things. So and that's what I used to do. I mean, like we'd go to like parties, and people would put out like the shrimp cocktail, and like, you know, nobody would eat it, or like some people would pick at it. And then at the end of the day, you've had shrimp sitting out all day, and I'm like, I'll take it, throw it in a bag. And they're like, you're not gonna, no, I'm not gonna eat it. I'm gonna take it home. Some monitors are gonna eat it. Like, it's so, and I mean, that's where it kind of started with the whole, like, you can expand out of the white lab mouse and the white lab rat into other food. Like, it's, and I don't like force feeding, so I don't care what this thing wants to eat. If it's eating, I don't give a shit. I'll figure it out. I don't like having to go to the pet store. I don't like having a tank full of fish, but like, it's whatever. It's working, so who cares? You know. And I want to get a big bulk order of frog legs, because I heard that some snakes go crazy for that. And a lot of my Karibo and other large colubrids, they'll eat raw, like chicken wings and turkey necks and things like that. And then I've also started feeding raw, like drumsticks, like straight, like I live out in Lancaster, so there's chicken stuff everywhere, and there's a butcher that'll give you if you go and you order it and tell him it's for a pet, he'll give you the leg of the chicken. Like he'll pluck the feathers off, but he'll leave the foot still on it and stuff like that.
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's a big drumstick. It's basically a drumstick.
Right.
And I've been feeding that to my carpets all this season. It's just like your one feeding this, week is going to be rodent. Next week, you're going to get a drumstick. And
that's awesome.
All my girls put on all their weight. They, that whole fear of like, oh, they're going to get stuck on a food. No. Now they're just ferocious. Now they'll eat anything. Like now there's nothing safe. There's
the
no
menu
safe.
has been expanded.
Oh my God. And it's one of those things where you look at an animal and like, will you? And then you show it to them and they nail it.
You will.
Like, all right. Like,
How long have you been doing that with carpets specifically, I guess?
I'd say this year was probably the most that I've really kind of pushed it. Because a lot of it also was part of the shutdown thing of being unable to get to my rodent guy. I mean, my rodent guy does live close, but it's like I'm not going to drive all the way to his farm because I need one bag of medium rats. No, I'm going to wait. And if I can extend out my food order and wait, I can, order it when I need more of these things. Plus, it was just easier. So.
Sure. Have you noticed any difference in terms of the animals that you are feeding a more varied diet? Obviously, I feel like that's something that would be hard to see.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is. I would say that they've, I was also messing with my temperature, so they definitely seem more active and stuff like that. But that's also because I started doing the whole, their temperatures gradually go up and spike, and then they gradually come back down. So, it's almost like
in a day.
In the day. So what happens is that my carpets cages, now they may not get to this temperature just because of, in August, and it may never reach that, but their cages are set for 84, 85. And it will, their heat panels will ramp up to 85, and then they'll stay at 85 for a couple hours during the day, and then they'll ramp back down to, I think it was 80 degrees.
Okay.
Or I think maybe 78, 79. And that's as far as it goes. So I'm not dropping them down to cooling temps of like 70 degrees, 60 something, but I'm turning off all their heat and then using it as more of a safety net as opposed to like making it so that their cage, like it has to get there, like it's forcing it that way. And I would say the carpets move around a lot more. They're getting more exercise. They have their favorite spots, but I won't just like find them in the one place all the time. They're wrecking their papers a lot more. Makes more cleaning for me, but it's I'd say they're a little bit healthier, a little bit better. So
with that, like they're getting less hours at that hottest temperature a day.
They're getting it. It's not more like I used to just have it. They hear your temp is set for 86, and it will be 86 all the time. Why? Because it's not breeding. It's not breeding season. It will be 86. Now, what I usually do is I just let the room do its thing. But like it's August or something like that. It's so they have their hot spot during the day where it's like from noon to I think like 3 or 4 of 86 degrees, and then it tapers off. Now, just because we might be in the middle of a heat wave, so it may not get down to 80 degrees because it's sweltering in that room or what, like so, but there's no heat panel keeping it at 80 degrees. So 86 degrees. So maybe or 85. It drops down to 82. Okay, whatever. I mean, that's just, you see more animals moving in the wild when things get cooler. They're not out in the middle of the day when it's 110 degrees. Why? They don't want to be. And when you go herping, you find them more often when there's a slight rain or it's the night is like 70 degrees, but then the pavement is 80 something, like it's hot enough for them to warm up and hunt, but the air temperature is always cooler. So, it works out.
Absolutely.
So far everybody's been okay. I kind of started this last year when I got back from Australia, and I had probably the best breeding season. Minus like the whole rough scale thing, and the Crebo stuff. Minus those two, I got more animals to breed than I ever did. I finally got my olives to breed for me. So,
very cool.
Clearly,
Crebo. I know that you got the Ruffy eggs, but
the Ruffies crashed on my birthday because that was wonderful. But the Crebo, she was because I ended up losing that female. She was about 5.5 feet long, close to 6 foot. And apparently Crebo that are not over 6 foot, do have a tendency to bind. So she laid an entire slug clutch, which was a wonderful, wonderful, just punch in the gut. And then she was bound up with about 4 eggs. So I got her the oxytocin and I gave her the shot and she passed 2 of the eggs and then she died the next day. And I'm like, crap.
Oh, man.
So I had a trio. So now I'm down to a pair.
And you have the unicolor, correct?
Yes. Yes, okay. I have the unicolors because Riley's got the black tails and we'll do a swap. So that's that. Yep. That's about it.
These guys, who did you get yours from?
I got them from a friend of mine who I think I want to say that they were captive hatched babies because they were young when he got them, and then he was getting out of snakes, so he sold them to me, and then it was like just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, all right, why not? I can figure out Crebo. It's a big king snake. No, it's a hoodless cobra. It's a hoodless venomless cobra. I mean, they're awesome. So you got
the venomless hoodless cobra,
yes,
and now you have the hooded venomous-ish, not cobra.
Ish is one of those things that Nipper keeps yelling me about. He's like, it doesn't matter if their fangs are behind their eyes. You're a venomous keeper. I'm like, no, I'm not. It's just, no, I'm not. And he goes, you are. Admit it. Just start posing with them in Instagram photos. I'm like, no, I refuse. So that
was an interesting one, and we're kind of jumping around here, but that's great. This is great. I was listening to the anniversary show, and I heard the part where you were like, everybody keeps telling me not to touch them.
It was something like I got them and I pulled them out of the bags and I just dumped them like you normally do, just like hold your hand out and dump them out of the bag, fresh out of the box. And I'm like, cool, taking pictures. And then I'm like, oh, right. Like it was just, and then I did it with the other one. So clearly I didn't learn anything. And I, pictures and put it down and I sent them to Nipper and he's like, stop handling false water cobra. I'm like, yeah, I know. Okay. So
interesting. I see. And that's interesting to me because at least in my experience with them, with the animals that we had at the vivarium and whatnot, like we usually treated them a lot more like a hognose than anything venomous. There wasn't really an expectation of don't touch them. So I wonder why. I'd have to talk to Nipper, but why that is.
I think it's along the lines of that. If you should treat it like it's venomous because you don't know how your body's going to react to the venom, and it's just a safer thing to do as opposed to what I did with my Madagascar hogs. And when I got them and one bit me, I'm like, I guess we'll see what happens. Like, and that's not right. That's really not what you should do.
So would you say then too that maybe even the hognose keepers need to adopt that mentality?
That's a problem. I mean, like with the Western, people have been bit by Westerns all the time. Right. And I would say that they're so low on the scale, but they should be considered venomous. Like it. Right. I think in the grand scheme of things, everybody should consider it and everybody should abide by certain rules. And I also know that I have set up rules for myself in my own room and then broken them immediately. So it's one of those things where in a perfect world, everybody would. Right. But they look so great in top hats. So of course I have to handle it.
They're the ones from Instagram where we post them.
How will I put its mustache on if I can't handle it? Maybe don't do that. Like pretty much.
And just for context too, like I have absolutely handled the falsie that I got.
Right.
I guess for me, I am aware that there is a chance that if it tagged me, that I could have a reaction. Right.
Yeah.
But I guess in my mind, based on what I've read and heard about their venom, it doesn't seem like more of a risk than any other, like I would say, like a hognose or a bee sting. But it also seems like the venom itself is very understudied. But I've heard like Dr. Loafman say that the whole potency of a timber rattlesnake, but rear fanged is.
I heard that's bullshit.
Not necessarily a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably bullshit. Otherwise, it would be one of those things where if you get bit by a timber, you're going to the hospital or you're dead. Like that's done deal.
Bad.
That's bad. That is bad.
You have done poor.
Yeah, this is not good. Like, it's just one of those things. So I don't know. I have definitely set myself up with a little bit some more ground rules with that, and not trying to handle them. The easiest way to not handle them is I gave them cork bark tubes, and then I just pick up the whole tube and move it.
Nice. Yeah,
and
mine's always in the paper towel roll these days.
Exactly. So it's like, how will you handle it? I'm gonna pick up the tube and move it. Like,
have you fed yours yet?
Yes, twice.
How fun is that? They're just explosive. At least mine is.
They don't come out for me.
Okay.
The male grabbed the food and dragged it into the tube.
It might just be too soon.
Yeah, well, the female didn't want it at all, and then I left it in there, and she ate it overnight. So they just might not want to be out when I'm checking on them. So right now they're still in quarantine with the rainbow boas. Right. I'm waiting for new cages for my Chinese king rats. And once those cages arrive, the false waters will move into what the Chinese king rats were in. So
sweet.
We'll see.
Yeah, the one that I got was pretty shy with food for the first couple feedings, but now that it's been like a month or so, he is just ravenous. Like I fed him last night, and he, like, what's it called, the pogo stick out of the out of the tube, and his tail was halfway out the bin. He was just freaking out. And, but they wolf, at least the one that I have, just wolfs down pinkies faster than anything I've ever seen.
I think mine are a little bit big.
Hot dog.
Yeah, I think mine are a little bit bigger than yours because they're on. I have them on hoppers.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So they took 2 hoppers each, and we'll see how that one goes. So
very cool. I think we're gonna have clutch mates eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I dig it, and I'm definitely excited to work with them, and especially like I'm slowly moving more towards interesting species that I find fun to breed, rather than like, well, I wonder what this carpet would look like with several more yellow scales. Like, it's been there, done that. Like, it's just one of those things where, I'll always keep having the carpets. I'll always keep breeding the carpets, but I want to start getting clutches of other stuff. My white lips, my water pythons, my Timors, my rough scales, my Crebos, my blue beauties, my Chinese king rats. What the hell else is here? Olive pythons, it's all that kind of stuff. And then it's just coming down to the whole point of, do I need several pairs of these, or can I get another pair of something interesting, something weird, something cool? So, Yep.
Absolutely. I agree. That's awesome.
It's dangerous. Oh, Womas, those two. Womas, try to get those. Yeah.
You're going to get blackheads someday.
Eventually, one day, maybe get blackheads when I feel brave enough.
They're easy.
Yeah. So there's that. And then there's like, I keep thinking about adding Argentine boas. I keep thinking about adding Papuan pythons, not the midget carpet ones, the actual Papua. Yeah, the Apodora. Those, not the ones not the Burke carpets, the other ones. Because it's like, I got like 2.2 olive pythons. I'm like, do I need 2.2 Aussie olives?
So you have olives, you have New Guinea water pythons?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And
the brown waters. I have Max. I have. They're all out on breeding loan right now.
Gotcha.
I had a Roddy Island female and I had a Timor Island male, and I'm like, no, I cannot do this. Like, I can't. Eric Kohler will never speak to me again. Like, I needed to not. So Dennis had a Roddy Island male, so I sent her down there, and then Travis has a Timor female, so I sent my male over there. So both my Max are out on breed loan. And I'm like, all right, hopefully
nice.
Baby Max will be coming my way. And then I also have the Dunn's python, the Dunai.
Right. And you have one at the moment. Right?
One boy.
One boy. Yeah. Yep. That is really cool though too.
He's weird. So he's just
how so?
I mean, he looks like a Mac, but not. And then he also does not act like a Mac at all. He's very. He's also just been a bitch about feeding. Like, I try not to touch him because I got him from Eric Kohler. I brought him here. He ate one live fuzzy, and then it's just been an uphill fight since then to get him to eat anything. So right now he's eating the heads off of quails because I ordered quail thinking I was getting the extra small quail, and they sent me their version of a quail which is the size of a juvenile chicken. And I'm like, no, what the hell is? I'm like, it said extra small quail, and it's the size of a chick. And I'm like, so I have to cut the heads off the quails to get them to eat, and it's. Well, I mean, he's maybe eaten one or two more times, but it's just been like, oh, and this was a struggle for Eric Kohler, and I have to call him and try to get him to give me a bag of, because he gets like the day old button quail for his. And so, yeah. So.
Yeah, the quail sizing, that's a little bit challenging when you're buying online. I got some when I was buying for my blackhead that are just way too big. So maybe I'll cut the heads off and feed those to something smaller.
Luckily, I have corn snakes, king snakes, pine snakes that don't give a shit.
Sure.
So I cut the head off and I feed it to the Dunai, and then I throw the headless quail to a Cali king that's just like, I don't care. And
perfect. Yeah.
So.
Everything is food to a good Cali king.
Exactly. I'm trying to actually get more into, like, I would like chickens that are larger than a large rat, if I could. And I got a couple of those through one of the rodent supply companies, but they cut the legs off of them. I'm like, why? Like, do they just fit better in a bag? Like, Jesus. So it's.
The chickens that we had at the vivarium, they grew pretty fast, and once they got past a certain size, like, people just didn't buy them. When they got like rabbit size, like, nobody wanted them anymore. So
I do, because I don't want to.
Like, does maybe we can.
I do those. Like, listen, it's maybe not the size of a rabbit, but like, the retics eat rabbits and stuff like that. But then I also find, like, certain python species, I don't want them on rodents because I feel like they get fat on rodents. Mm-hmm. Leaner body stuff. My white lip eat nothing but birds. He came to me.
Awesome. Okay.
He came to me 8 feet long and huge, and I'm like, you need to thin out, because white lips are not supposed to be gold-faced white lips are not supposed to be huge. They're thinner bodied snakes. So he's eating nothing but quails and chickens, and he thinned out enough that I think I can pair him with my 4-foot female now. So she's getting there. Like, it's like I can't. He's on the verge of being a broken white lip.
No.
I don't want to feed her and break her to try to attempt to breed him. Like, I want him to kind of come this way a little bit, but I need her to kind of meet him in the middle. So
is that something you're trying this year? The white lips?
Yep. White lips are getting paired in January. We're gonna do something a little bit different, because we did that one episode on the show of, like, books and stuff. And I'm like, I don't have my breeding of pythons and boa. Like, I don't have my breeding husbandry book anymore. I had it in college, and I don't have it anymore. I'm like, this is a travesty. And I'm like, I don't really need it. And then Eric's talking. I'm like, I fucking need it. Like, it's so
he has all the books.
Of course he does. He has every single one. Jerk with his books. But so I went online and I found one on a Facebook page for books, and I bought it. $60, and it was a signed copy. I'm like, whatever. And I'm going through it, and they have stuff in there for white lips. And a lot of it was some of the theories that I'd already kind of been toying with, but had never actually put to, use. Apparently they have to have a huge temperature fluctuation, and they're like, feed the entire way through, because they can hurt each other, and they will hurt each other. So make sure their bellies are full, and then the temp swing, they'll take care of themselves. I'm like, all right. So I did a soft intro with my male and female, and they hid from each other. And I'm like, okay, not working. So I'm going to drop temps a little bit and start, and then I will introduce. The other thing is that we're also going to ultrasound the Timor female, the Caribou female, the Ruffin female, and the white lip female the week before Christmas, and see where we're at. And then we're going to start consistent ultrasounds.
Right, because you have the new toy.
I do have the new toy. We're going to start doing that to see when everybody should be together.
Okay.
Like right now, my Caribous are together, and they haven't killed each other. Plus,
good.
I've also seen them in the same bin and under the same log. Also, plus, I never saw copulations last year, so maybe. My biggest fear is that I didn't see copulations because he just wasn't into her, and that's why she slugged out. So I'm hoping that he's at least trying, like, doing something. Like, come on.
That's awesome.
But we're going to check off all those females so that we can start gauging how big the follicles are going to be and when to introduce the males.
That's going to be so cool.
And the only thing is, like, I'm not ultrasounding the carpet pythons. I don't care. Like,
Right.
it's like
Either
oh
they do
no,
it or they don't. We
oh
want to know
no,
about the white lips.
I didn't get my 5th clutch of coastals. If only I had. Like, I don't. Whatever. Like,
Right.
I'm trying 4 jungle pairings this year. I do not need all 4 jungles to breed. I'm counting on not getting all 4 jungles to breed.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, but no.
Now, in terms of cycling the white lips, are we talking like bred like cold, like
yeah,
50s?
yeah.
Or?
We're gonna.
Okay.
It's weird because we're talking about a lower temp than normal. Like, we're talking lower than 70, so into the 60s, and
Okay.
then we're also talking a higher basking temp. So
because you're feeding throughout.
Right. So 60 something at night, close to 90 during the day.
Oh, wow.
So
that is a very unique recipe. I haven't heard of this before.
Neither have I. So that's what I was reading. They're saying that they did temps of like 92 degrees during the day. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, but
interesting.
I have a set of 2 cages that are off on their own stats, that the male's already in one. And then there was a retic in it, the top one, but he keeps breaking it, so he's not allowed to be in there anymore. So I'm going to put the female white lip in there, because I just repaired the plexi again. Actually, I took out the glass and put in plexi. So the idea is that they can now start wintering on the same cycles, and then once she starts ovulating, or once the follicles are big enough, there'll be an introduction. Apparently, white lip ovulation is like huge. 24 hours gone, and it's like, oh shit. Like, so it would be one of those things where we'd start just seeing the follicular development and then just call it and put him in there, because then he'll be in there for when she gets really big, and he'll be hopefully all over. So,
right
yeah.
And now is that for southerns and northerns as well, or just the gold phase for that kind of?
It's just the gold phase
recipe.
I mean, it just said the gold phase, but I would imagine that the southerns would be even more, because I would imagine that I find that a darker snake comes from a more extreme climate. So I would say that the southerns are probably going to be the same freaking way. So
that makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would gauge on that one. Also, the weird thing is that you got to think of it in Indo terminology. More northern is, depending on where the equator is, more northern is normally hotter, and then southern is colder. It's like in Australia, it's like diamonds are down south. That's weird. No, it's not. It's colder down there. That's, no.
Not like for me, where south is the desert.
Exactly. Like, even for me, I'm in the Northeast. If I'm going south, it's getting hotter, and there are alligators down there,
and it's humid, and mosquitoes are everywhere.
Yeah. Bugs the size of like Cadillacs. No. Well, so
I got destroyed when I was in Savannah. Just a side note, Savannah, Georgia, the mosquitoes are evil, and it is not good.
KJ and I we're out herping, and I'm just getting drained of my blood as we're looking for pygmy rattlesnakes. I'm like, I hope the sun sets soon, otherwise I'm gonna, become anemic here. So
pretty much, we went to. This was when I was on tour. We went to like a wildlife park somewhere in Savannah, and the lady gave us like a thing of bug spray. She could tell that we weren't from around there, and we weren't prepared, and we were all just getting bit. And she's like, "You guys might need this," and doused myself in it. Didn't work. The mosquitoes were still like biting through my clothes.
Well, that was the fun part of Australia, where it's like, put on the DEET and it'll keep the flies away. And like Eric's taking pictures of them drinking the sweat off of my shirt as they're all over me. And I'm like, I hate this. I hate these things. I hate this. Like, the only good thing about Australia was the sun went down, bugs went away. They just disappeared.
Okay.
So you only had to deal with the bugs when it was sunlight and shit like that, but you had the nets. Otherwise, you were eating bugs. Like, Keith ate so many flies, and he was just like, "I don't need a net." I'm like, just stop. Like,
they do say that eating bugs are the future, but I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I mean, eventually, yeah. But
so I do actually have questions. This has been great, but let's get down the list here a little bit.
I know I hijacked everything. Go ahead.
No, it's fantastic. Please continue to do so. So I want to ask about like a little bit of your history with animals. Like, you used to work at a zoo, or a zoo-like facility. I think it was a
ZAA, which is step below AZA.
Okay,
it's a big step. It was a ZAA accredited facility that did outreach programs, as far as like educational programs and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So how long were you there, and how long ago did you leave?
I was there my senior year of college. I started there, and it was kind of like a second job. And then after I graduated, I stayed there for about 2 years after I graduated. And I graduated in '08, so I want to say I was there till about 2010. Yeah, I want to say it was 2010.
For sure. And what were some of the things that you got to work with that were notable?
Notable is that we did a lot of work with Jack Hanna and stuff like that, because like when Jack Hanna goes places, he doesn't bring the animals. He has people like us meet him there with the animals.
Okay.
So we did a lot of stuff like that, which was cool because we got to go behind the scenes of several zoos and things like that, because you met people and they were like, oh yeah, if you're ever in Columbus, and I'm like, hey, I'm in Columbus, and they let me go behind the scenes at Columbus Zoo and see the cheetahs and stuff like that, which was awesome.
Wow.
But as far as at our zoo, we did have several large cats. We would have them from when they were small up until a certain point, and then they would go somewhere else. And it's one of those
exotic.
Dude, you don't want, like, it's one of those that when you're in it, you don't ask the questions, and when you're outside of it, you're like, yeah, it was bad. Like that was bad. Like I am very much, because of my experiences, I'm very much into you have no excuse to pull an animal from its mother unless that animal's life is in danger. And like if the mom's not taking care of it and stuff like that. And that's just because I've played with infant tigers, infant lions, and stuff like that were pulled from their mothers to be sold. And it's one of those, you're in it and you're like, I'm playing with a tiger. And then you're outside of it, you're like, holy crap. Like it was like, no. So yeah, I
interesting.
Yeah, I bet you several of our cats probably went through some point somewhere.
Carol Baskin.
Either Doc Antel or somebody else. I would not be shocked. There was because there were a lot of exotic animal auctions and dealers that happened in Columbus, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And that's where most of the stuff came from. So we did a lot of stuff with that, but I also got to work with a lot of kangaroos and things like that, which is definitely I loved the kangaroos. I would, if I could, I would have a mob of my own just out in the backyard, just having so much fun. But we also had a bunch of different owls, birds, lemurs, African crested porcupine, stuff that, like, it needed a bottle every 2 hours. So like it's in my house, run around and stuff like that. It was great. So yeah, it was a fun experience. Again, when you're in the inside of it, it's great. It's hilarious. It's awesome. And then when you're outside of it, you're like, well, that wasn't an accredited facility. Like that's not good at all. So
that's really cool though. I feel like not a lot of people know. I don't know what is the personality like for a kangaroo in relation to people? Like were they interactive?
Yes, and he who has the bottle and the pouch is king. And we had several. I had like 6 kangaroos at one point, like throughout the years, because they grow fast, and it's basically a Tyrannosaurus Rex deer. So they're constantly on edge, and they're constantly trying to think things. If it's a boy, it's constantly trying to fight you. And
really?
Kick it. Like
I've seen that one video of this super like yoked out kangaroo.
Oh yeah, I mean
that's the guy in the face.
Well, that was the funniest thing is the boys, when they got to a certain age, they would just start sparring against you, because that's what they're supposed to do. They spar against other little ones. But I'm walking and he's kicking my legs. I'm like, stop it. Like but we had the roos, and I was always doing that, but also I was in charge of reptiles. So I would be working and I would have them in a backpack on my back. And they would just be munching, and you can hear them. They're moving around and stuff like that. They're sleeping or doing whatever. But after a while, they start getting really frustrated and they want out. So you bend over, you let them out, and then there goes a kangaroo. And then I continue working, and then you hear a giant crash or somebody screaming at it to get out of the commissary or the kitchen. And then here comes your kangaroo hauling ass back to you to get back in the pouch. It's like, all right. So, yeah, I mean, I've been like I think I've been like elbow deep in like crocodile pond scum as my kangaroo's clawing at my head trying to get back in. And it's like, stop. Like, just give me a minute. Like, it was wonderful parent training.
That sounds amazing for like a week.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the fun part is that, I mean, I was at the zoo till late at night, and then we had to get back really super early. So before my mother would leave for work, she would take the kangaroo and give it its bottle and then clip it and hang it in like off of my bedroom door. And it would just be sitting there sleeping as I got another hour of sleep. And then I'd wake up, throw her in the bag. And there've been several times where I was just coming home so goddamn tired that I forgot I had a kangaroo on my back. So we're driving up to this one place, and Eric and I have mentioned Wawa several times. It's just a gas station with they make sandwiches.
I have been.
There you go. So
glorious place.
Exactly. And it's open 24 hours. So, it's great for, all things.
Yes.
So it's like midnight and I'm coming home and I'm like, I haven't eaten all day. I'm stopping getting a sandwich. So out of instinct, I get out of the car and I throw on the backpack, and Sydney, which was the kangaroo, she's asleep. So I'm in the Wawa and I'm ordering my sandwich, and I paid for everything, and I'm standing there and I'm waiting for them to make my sandwich, and Sid starts moving, and I'm like, and it dawns on me, I have just brought a kangaroo into a convenience store. I'm like,
Wawa.
oh my God. I'm like, oh my God. And she's moving and she's moving. And I'm like, stop, honey, just stop. Just go back to bed. Like, please stop. Don't do this. And they finish my order. I grab it and I'm running out of the door as I feel her stand up in the bag and her head pops up the top. And I hear people behind me, and I'm just like booking across this parking lot to get in my car because I'm like, I don't want to answer questions. I don't want to do this crap. Like, I just want to go home.
They all think you just smuggled that animal.
Like, oh my God, Jesus. Like, yeah, that was it was fun. I went on Maury Povich twice. So it was a fun thing, but it was not the professional, like we just talked about with the it's what you shouldn't be doing as far as like a zoological career. You could be grinding at a zoo for a couple of years in AZA accredited everything. So yeah.
Gotcha. Still though, I mean,
fun
that
as
being
hell.
said, it does sound pretty amazing.
Oh God, it was fun as hell. Would not recommend. Like, it was fun as hell. Do as I say, not as I do. It's one of those
Understood.
things. Like,
so kangaroos, thumbs up, thumbs down as a pet.
I would love. I've been told I'm not allowed to get them. My fiance is worried about me being kicked to death. Apparently, I told her that's unrealistic. She refuses to concede. Apparently, I'm allowed to get wallabies. I told her that's stupid.
Okay.
Because that's just too short. It's not like it's a rabbit. Like, it's just a funny rabbit. And I'm still fighting on that one. I lost cassowaries very quickly.
Right.
Yeah. Again, with the
murder ostriches.
It's murder ostrich. That was my own fault for calling them that. It's like, and that was, I didn't do myself any favors. And then again, with the whole, she doesn't want me to be kicked to death. So yeah, all right. Guess.
Yes, I mean, we could just say I could get kicked to death walking down the street.
Exactly.
By a 12-year-old child.
And that's what she's like. She's like, well, I want horses. I'm like, and kicked to death. See, what the hell? Like,
what the hell?
If we want to go by which one of these creatures has kicked more people to death, like, it was the horse.
Horses freak me out. My aunt has horses. They're not to be trusted.
They're not. I mean, horses don't get bit by a horse.
No.
There are two animals in this world that I don't want to get bit by ever again. One is a horse. The other is a parrot, because a macaw doesn't break the skin, but it still tears the muscles from your bones. And it just bites down and just pulls. And you're like, I can't punch it, because if I do, it's a bird and it'll die. So, yeah.
So deep flesh wounds.
Oh my God. But again, it's like, it's a massive bruise, but you're like, no bleeding, no broken skin. And you're just like, this.
It's almost worse.
Yeah, this sucks. Like, I prefer to just get chewed on. Like, Jesus.
That doesn't sound good at all. Yeah.
No. Nope.
So did that job at the zoo, did that influence you at all as a keeper at home, or were you even really working with snakes at that zoo?
I had a very small amount of carpet python. I had maybe about because I left college with about 15 snakes, and then I downgraded to probably about 8 or 9.
Okay.
Carpet pythons, and that's all it was strictly carpets. It got me interested in a few other animals. I mean, I was working with pine snakes at that place, as well as, crocodilian species and a couple other things like that. So I kind of got my feet wet with a lot of things of like, this is fun at work. I'll never do this at home. Like, it's, them, cane toads. We had some Gila monsters and stuff like that. So, and then we had like big pythons and things like that. So it was cool to play with at work and then go home to my, little modest collection. So
right. I can understand that. Like we talked about on NPR.
Yeah. It was.
It's nice to get run out of the room by vine snakes at work, but then be
and then
safe
never
in my
into the-
room.
I love playing with people's monitors.
Yeah.
And then when they shit in their water, I'm like, well, that's your problem. And then I leave. Like it's
when they explode.
exactly.
Yeah. That's not a pretty sight.
It is not. I know. I've had friends who had black throats and this, that, and the other thing. And they're like, oh, well, we replaced all their bulbs with those special $80 bulbs. And the monitor's like, light turn on, swings his tail and just smashes it. And you're like, God damn it.
Thank
like,
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I would not be okay with that. I'd be like, I hate this animal. So, yeah.
Now, would you ever want to return to the zoo field in any way? Or do you feel like that part of your life is behind you?
I would love to return to a zoo-like setting, a proper one like AZA.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you hiring? Do you know someone who's hiring in Pennsylvania?
Well,
can you get me into
not at the moment, but I'll keep my ear open during my master's
Can you
program.
get me into the Philly Zoo? I'll do it. I don't care.
We should,
Lehigh Valley Zoo is even an option.
Should check with Dr. Loafman, see if he knows anybody.
Dear God. I would love to get back into a zoo-like setting, just for my own sanity.
Sure, because right now you're doing
insurance claims.
Claims insurance, right?
Which is just everybody calls me and argues, and I go, no, you did it.
Like auto insurance.
Yes, auto liability. Yep.
That's horrible. I'm so sorry.
It's shaving years off my life every time I sit down at my computer. Yep. Slowly killing me.
They hit my car.
Yes.
I want them to pay.
Well, that's the thing. Well, I love it because they're like, they call and they're like, I hit a deer. I'm like, okay. All right. I'm like, that's fine. So I have to ask you a couple more follow-up questions. What were you doing? We're coming back from the casino at 3 a.m. You hit the deer? Yeah. So you hit a deer. Yeah. That's your story? Okay. So we're gonna see the car eventually, right? And then we do, and it's like, well, they hit 5 things, and there's a police report where they found them passed out in somebody's front yard. And then I called them. I'm like, where was the deer? And they're like, I swear it was there. I'm like, dude, come on.
He said his name was Deer.
There it is. Just come up with it. Like, whatever. That's my job. But
gotcha. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it pays the bills unless we play with my snakes. But I would love to get back into a zoo setting just because I do miss it. And it's one of those things that, like, my lunch break always seems to be when The Secret Life of the Zoo is on Animal Planet. And I can sit there and, like, a slow tear comes down my face.
One single tear. Sydney!
One single tear as I go back up to my computer.
Sydney the kangaroo, where are you?
I know exactly where she is. I know where all my kids went. Yeah, but
that's adorable.
I know, isn't it? But I would love to get back just because I do think that the zoological field and also like zoological animal study is one of the most important things that in science that we're doing as far as conservation and other things like that.
Right.
And I don't think they get enough credit because I mean, these people devote their entire lives to making sure that the bear is happy and will breed. And I'm like,
right.
That's fantastic. Like, and that
little Jimmy can come see the bear without risk of death.
Exactly. And I love it because these people are out there. And one of the worst things that always used to happen is, well, we'd be cleaning. They're like, make sure you do your studies. Otherwise, you're going to be that person shoveling that elephant shit. Like, fuck you. I'm in a doctoral program. Like, I chose to be here. Like,
give me the shovel.
I want to shout back at these idiots. Like, no, this wasn't deliberate. Like it. So, and I would like.
I hear you. I agree.
I would like to get back. We're waiting. My fiance is moving up here in December, and she's a manager at an emergency vet clinic. And then we're probably going to have to move closer to her job. And then we're going to try to figure something out where I can try to see if I can get back into some animal field. Or I need to convince Eric to just retire from ShopRite and open a serpentarium with me in Philadelphia.
Now that sounds like the plan. I know. That is what should be done.
I keep pushing for it, and he keeps going. I'm like getting closer. Like it just
and then
slowly
we can film there for the MPR Network
YouTube channel. Yeah. See,
and Riley will live in the closets.
I mean, I figure he doesn't need that much space. He'll just sleep like vampire style, like standing up. We'll put a small pillow. We'll nail a small pillow to like the wall, and you just rest his head on it.
Perfect. I can't imagine that I would need much more space than Mort. So
exactly. Well, I mean, Mort's got a big freaking place. Like, she's happy.
Excellent.
That's all I care about.
So Well, that's great. That's very good. We talked a little bit about the stuff that you're looking to pair this year. So besides the white lips, Crebo, whatever else we talked about 20 minutes ago, what else are you looking to do? Are you doing Womas this year?
I am doing Womas. They are together right now because he was getting all flighty, and then I put them together. And I'm like, let's see what happens, and they didn't kill each other. So I'm like,
good.
Okay, all right. And he was spurring her yesterday.
Okay.
So I have no idea if that's going to start working. But as far as on the list of stuff, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pairs of carpets, rough scale pythons, Woma pythons, 2 pairs of olives, Timor pythons, New Guinea waters, gold-faced white lips, pine snakes, corn snakes, Crebo, Vietnamese blue beauties, blonde Madagascar hog, speckled Madagascar hog, and giant Madagascar hog. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a light year. It's a light year. That doesn't
awesome.
include the 2 potential pairs of Macs that are on loan, the IJs that are on loan, the Dominican Red Mountain Boas that I don't want to breed. I don't want them to have success.
When it worked, we have
actively,
babies. Do you want them? No.
Fuck. Like that happened last year. I'm like, or it was 2 years ago. I think it was when I had my last litter. I'm like, up. And the Dominicans didn't, like, they tried this year, but it didn't work out. And then I come back from Florida and there's Dominican babies loose in the room. I'm like, no, what hell is this? And,
Not more of you.
Not more of you. And yeah. So,
very cool.
Yeah, we'll see about that one.
Now, would that be your first time with the water pythons, if that works out, or have you produced those before?
That'll be the first time with the waters.
Okay.
That was my Liasis projects have just been kicks in the teeth the entire way around, where it's like I had the waters and I had a pair, and then we lost. Like one of the females, the female literally got out. So we bought another female, and then we found her, and then we had a trio. And I'm like, well, fuck it. And then the male,
I love that.
she was just loose. She was just like wandering around, and then like she just appeared in the middle of the room, in the middle of the floor. Like it was just like, oh, go to hell.
I love those stories when people are like, it was in a suitcase in the, in the
just
attic.
Middle of the floor. Like, here I am. It's like, God damn it. And then that was when I was doing a lot of work with Chris Foley, and then he moved, and we kind of had to cut down on the collection. I think we ended up losing the male, and then we just sold the other 2 females. So, I mean, got back into water pythons, and I've been slow growing this pair for a while, and now they're finally up to size. The female's a bitch. The male's kind of scared. I understand. So there's that. But then, like the Max, I've had Glitch since Eric gave him to me years ago. I think it was like the first year of NPR.
Is he the one with one eye?
He is. Yeah.
Excellent.
He's broken, constantly broken. So it's like if something were to go wrong, you'd be like, yeah, Glitch. It's like, yeah, it would be him. Like it's a way. But that's the thing is like I bred him with my first female Mac, and I bred them the year I was moving out here, and I moved here, and she laid a slug clutch and then died. And I'm like, okay, cool,
excellent.
Then I got another female, and I raised it up, and it turned out to be a male. Sold it. Got another female, turned out to be a male. Sold it. Got another female, raised it up this year, died of cancer.
Oh man!
So I'm like, Jesus Christ! I'm like, can he just get a female? Like, can I just? And now, of course, Timor python, or I'm sorry, Macklot's pythons are the hot button. Like, I cannot get a goddamn Macklot's python.
That is
to save my life. And
brutal.
So, and that was the funny thing. So I had an extra male. So I had the only female I had was a Rhode Island, and then I had my 2 male Timor pythons, or my 2 male Macklot Timor islands. And Nick calls me, and he's like, my female Mac killed my male. I'm like, yeah, I'll send you the one. He's like, I'll take the one-eyed one. I'm like, no. Like, no. You get this crummy, you get this crummy wild caught one. And then Nick's like, oh, I got eggs. God damn it. Like, it was just like, all right, well, whatever. So I'm hoping to get eggs out of Glitch, just because I think I just need more Glitch babies in my life. So it's
sounds like a very memorable animal. Like when it's all said and done, you're gonna remember.
Well, and that's the thing is like, so he had this problem with his eye. where it kept getting infected and it would blow up, and then he would shed a couple times and it would clear up, and he couldn't see. And I sent him down to my fiance, and she brought him into work. And one of the doctors she works with down there specialized in reptiles, so she checked him out.
That's convenient.
And they're like, we can just pull it. Like it's an infected this and that and the other thing. And they're like, it's going to keep happening. And I'm like, just take his eye out. And they did. And he's been perfect ever since. Totally fine. Doesn't care. And I'm like, that's fantastic. And
better than worrying about
it. Was like exactly like, you know, and like, hey, if taking his eye means that I get to keep him for a couple more years, like fine. I'd rather do that than have.
Still has one.
Exactly. It's weird because he would
built-in redundancy.
Well, he would look at you and then he would turn his head to where his eye, like he would have to, oh, there you are. And I was like, okay, hi, buddy.
Oh, that's
so. But then the olive pythons, I had the one pair since 2007 when they were babies, and I raised them up, and I got them too fat because I fed them guinea pigs, and they just got chunky, and they never wanted to breed. And then I got another pair of juveniles, and then I got another lone male. And I raised everybody up, and now we're at the point where the first original pair is slimmed down, and the juveniles were old enough to breed last year. Okay. And they were the ones who gave me the eggs, were the ones that I raised up from juvies that I got.
Nice.
So, and then I got rid of that extra male. Like, he just get out of here. But it's so I'm like, all right. So this year I'm hoping by mixing and taking the juvie younger male to the older female will be helpful, and I can try to get 2 clutches of olives because I did love those babies. Those are awesome.
That's awesome.
So yeah, they were cool, and they were. Just
I was lurking
babies.
On the website. I couldn't take them on, but they were beautiful. I know they all look the same, but they're pretty snake.
And that's what I'm loving even more. Want an olive python? Yep, cool. Here it comes.
Yeah, like, boy or girl. Yeah.
You don't want to send me pics? They all look the goddamn same. Like, I don't. You really want to do this?
In that, yeah, that simplifies things a little.
Exactly.
Bit.
I just want to do like water pythons, 250. Which ones? Girls and boys. Do you want them? Like, that's it. Done.
I really want water pythons, but it sounds like the Queensland ones are a little bit less
aggro. They are. And they're actually a little bit nicer. Like the green, they have a little bit more green on them. They're a little bit more like an olive python with an orange belly.
Right.
New Guineas are just brown evil snakes with like orange bellies, and it's like, all right, yeah.
Are the New Guinea ones easier to find, would you say? I'm not really like plugged into that market.
I would say that they're easier to find because those are the ones that keep they came in regularly.
Right.
So those are a lot of ones that people see as brown water python is, you know, a New Guinea and stuff like that. It's when you get into like the Queensland water pythons, those are the ones a little bit more difficult to find. That you kind of got to hunt and peck and figure out. So, but yeah, I'd say they both have their qualities. I mean, I never felt the need to go get both types of water python. I'm good with mine. So that's it. So we'll see.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And then for the roughies, is it the same pair this year as last year?
As last year. But the female put on a ton of weight because she only eats mice. So I'm like, fine. And then I talked to my rodent guy. And I'm like, I would like to buy pregnant females. And it was like, he just gassed an entire thing of jumbo sized pregnant retired female mice.
There you go.
She ate 2 of them at a time. And I'm like, if you don't want to eat rats, that's fine. I'm just going to keep stuffing you full of mice.
Butterballs of mice.
Whatever. And she's about, last year she was a little bit shy of 1,000 grams. And now she's a little bit over. She's about 1,112. So she's about the size of a nice beefy chondro, which is exactly where I want her to be.
Perfect. So. Yeah. And last year, you got eggs. Was it an incubation thing, or did they get too wet or something, or they just
crapped out? They just crapped out. So I got 5 eggs, and I was not expecting them. She just didn't show me any kind of signs, and he was nowhere near her, and I was just like, all right. And then she laid them, and I got to them that day, but she did not tightly coil them.
Okay.
It was she kind of coiled the bottom.
Start.
Shaky start. She kind of coiled the bottom half of them, and then like there was nothing. She didn't cover the top, so they were cold when I got them. I did incubate them, and then it was like slow burn. Like they just started like shriveling up. There was very few veins. I think maybe one or two of them glowed red when I did the first initial thing.
Gotcha.
And then it
Okay.
was like shrivel up, kind of just come in on itself. And then I cut it open and found like a dead, very developed, like not very developed embryo.
I see.
And then we kept going. And then we're like, oh, well, we're down to like 4 eggs, 3
So
eggs, 2 eggs.
it wasn't necessarily like meant to be from the start. It sounds like
It was an uphill push from the beginning. And then I got to, they were due June 14th, and the last egg I cut on June 14th, it was a fully formed baby.
Oh,
dead. And I'm like, ugh.
That hurts. That's the part
that hurts. That one hurts. That one hurt. So
I see. Well, definitely fingers crossed with those this season.
They'll be mine. They'll be mine. All of them are mine.
Nothing's leaving.
Nothing's leaving. Like, yeah. Eric's like, oh, you said I'd get a female. I'm like, you got yours from Brett. Screw you. Like, shut up with your one male.
Be happy with what you have.
Silence. Like, yeah. And it's the same thing. People are like, can I get on your list for blackface white lip? I'm like, if I ever breed blackface white lip, it makes you think I'm selling anything. Like, dude, like, I breed for me, and then I let you guys have the cast off. Like, it would be one of those things of like, yeah, okay, you can be on the list if I let one go. Like, so
I see. And is that just for the Southerns or
no, gold too. If I were to have success with the golds, if I were to have success with the golds, the first thing I'm doing is giving myself me as like a good job
Owen McIntyre.
A good job Owen gift is 2.2. These are mine. So if only 8 eggs go the distance, I've taken 4 of them for myself. All right.
Makes sense, as you should, right?
Yeah. So, and then I'm very much into the whole thing of what Eric said with the whole, I know people who've been working with this project for years,
right,
and have not had success or have had mixed success. So they would be my first ones to be like, hey, I got babies. Do you want a boy or a girl or this? So they may never even hit the website for sale because I'm keeping these 4, and those 4 else I gave out to other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because the whole thing is to further the species. That the whole thing is to further the species. That's what I want to do. So, it'd be one of those things that like I'd call up Scott Board and be like, "Do you want a pair?" Like, and if he said yes, then now we're only down to 2. Right. So, yeah,
gotcha.
So it all depends on that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. I think that it's awesome that you're kind of taking this approach of keeping, in addition to your carpet stuff, some of the lesser kept, like you just said, maintain the species in the hobby type animals, rhino rats, rough scales, the blue beauties.
I forgot the rhino rats. I'm breeding them this year too.
God, those guys.
Yeah, them.
Little Pinocchio.
Veins of my existence.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome. And I think that that's something that I feel a pull to as well, even though I don't really have anything cool yet, but I like it in theory.
It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, Rob. He's like, you're doing fine. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, Rob. He's like, you're doing fine. I'm like, holy crap, I got eggs. He goes, I fucking told you. Like, okay. Okay. Yeah, all right.
The process, as they say.
Yeah. And it was just one of those things where it's one of those things where you try to breed for the first year and you don't expect to get success, let alone 2 clutches. And you're like, shit, like, what do I do now? Holy crap, babies. Like, yeah. So they're cool species. I enjoy, what always drew me to carpets was that they were not the thing that you saw 10 million of on in 8 different tables, which,
right.
Which is why doing shows as primarily a carpet breeder is slow and sucks, because people looking for ball pythons, looking for 18 gene retics and this, that, and the other thing. And you're there with your ugly brown mean snakes. So it's one of those things where that's what always drew me. And then to find out that there's another level with even more rarer or less produced or less handled snakes than carpets, it was just a no-brainer. That's what always started that. And then, the thing is that anybody can appreciate how gorgeous a blackface whitelip is, how awesome a Timor python looks like, but they don't want to do a Timor python because all they have is a room full of 32 quart bins where they keep all their ball pythons and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, but are you even having fun with it? Like, it's, I enjoy the fact that I can go through my stacks of cages and there's carpets in there, but then I go through this stack and like, well, there's a white lip in this one, and there's a Timor python over there, and that's where I keep those guys, and it's something different, and they act different, and it's, you know, don't just reach into that cage like no, you take your time now, and it's like that. And I also like, I mean, I have a ring python female that I absolutely love. And that's just been fun as hell because she's a spitfire and she learned how I do things, but she loves her little humidity hide box. So I rarely ever see her out, but I also have like a 3D printed perch in there. So she's either in the humidity hide or laid out on this perch, and she just comes flying at me. And it's like, it's just, and from out of the box, it's hilarious because like she won't, like there's nothing there. You touch the water bowl and then all of a sudden there she is, like just out of the moss flying at you, and it's like, all right, that's cool. So it's fun stuff. And you know, you do this and then you go to a show and half the people there don't even know what the animal is that you have on your table. You know, I had people asking me because I went to a show recently this past weekend, and people were asking me what was the difference between a reticulated python and a ball python.
About 20,
a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of a difference. And that's the core of the public people that you're dealing with. So I've been at shows where I've purchased water pythons and just put them on the table because I didn't want anywhere else to put them. And people are like, what kind of morph of snake is that? I'm like, it's not. It's the way it always looks. And so it's a water python. I've never heard of that. Well, of course you haven't, because it's not a mainstream morph breeding thing. So yeah, I like that better.
Absolutely. And my question with that is which of those lesser kept species that now you've had the opportunity to work with, can you pick one as being maybe your favorite that you would want to, or
are we discounting the rough scales, because then they win every time, and that's unfortunate.
You know, let's discount them because that is true. Anybody that listens to Owen knows that
I mean,
roughies
that's a
are
dumb
number
question.
one.
Yeah.
So besides the roughies, something that you would like to see get more established, or maybe you don't because you like the fact that they're not, but something
I love the fact that they're not, but I would love to see more. It's a tie between the Timors and the white lips. Those two. Because I would love to, and it's my own greed. I would love to see baby Timors come out of eggs in my house, and then have a bunch of baby Timors. I would love to have that. I would love to see baby white lips coming out of eggs in here, just because I think, number one, there needs to be more of these animals, but also I would love to just see it myself, to have done it, and maybe not even necessarily like gloat or be like, aha, this is my, just to have the experience of seeing it, because I've seen baby carpets hatch all the time.
A few
times. It's been there, done that, bought that T-shirt, you know. And but to see the olives hatch this year, that was fucking cool. It was just something. It was something different. And it's one of those things where, you know, and my fiance yells at me because the reason we have a glass front incubator is so I can look in and not keep opening the door. She had to limit me to going down and checking on the eggs 2 times a day. She's like, you're going to fuck with the temperature. So I'm like, it's fine. I know what I'm doing. It's like, you know, and it's just one of those things where it was cool. But, dude, the rhinos hatching this year was fucking awesome. And it was just really cool to watch them come out with the horns up against their heads, and to watch the horns kind of slowly tip forward. And
is that how that works?
Oh yeah, they're laid up against their head. It's on their forehead so that they can get the egg tooth. And then some, it took like a day or two, but like others instantaneously, it was just like, whoop.
I haven't even thought about that. That's fascinating.
You just don't, like, I
have in the way.
Exactly. I have all these pictures of me holding the eggs with them having pipped out, and it's just so cool. And it was just so cool. And
how long does it take for it to migrate down to the front?
That's the weird thing, is that people don't understand. It's not hard. It's soft scales. So like the horn, like they'll jam it up against the wall and it'll go like all over the friggin' place. So it's not something that's like is always in one particular position, because some of them kind of have it where it tips up a little bit, kind of straight up. Others have it go pointing forward, and it will change. And, you know,
Wow.
and also there's some rhinos that are a-holes and just jam their faces into things and will actually damage the horn to the point where they lose it.
Really?
Yeah, they look weird. So the green snake.
You're
But
missing
it's
your best
missing your horn.
part.
Yeah. So but it's just something that's really kind of cool where, you know, it will kind of move depending on the positions and stuff like that. I've also found that, like, if they're getting ready to shed, it kind of turns a little discolored around the nose because they're rubbing on things. And also that's when the horn will start really moving all around. But it's just something cool to see. So I would very much enjoy, just for my own selfish reasons, hatching something that I've never hatched before, just to see the babies come out of the clutch, because it's just so fucking cool. I mean,
now I'm thinking,
when I hatched mangrove monitors and black throat monitors and stuff like that, it was just fun to watch them come out of the eggs.
Right.
Yeah. So
now I'm just trying to think. I can't imagine how they shed the horn.
it just peels.
Do they start at the horn?
Yeah, because when you get a full shed, it will, like, the horn will be included in the shed.
Wow. Have you ever had stuck shed on the horn?
Yeah, once.
Got to kind of like.
It's not fun because the adults are bitey.
Yeah. That's so cool.
My adults are mean since I put them in that living room tank.
Damn it! Now I want rhino rats. Just for the horns.
You really should, because they're one of those Asian colubrids that it's like, what's the temp? It doesn't fucking matter. Like, they're fine. They live unplugged in a rack in a python room. Nothing's bad for them. And then breeding them, I just cooled them down like colubrids, like my king snakes. And my male got both females, and he was whatever. So
nice. Very cool. Very, very cool. So with all that being said, do you, I know you just got the falsies, but
yes,
what does the wish list look like these days? Is there anything on your list?
Well, the wish list right now is I have to complete pairs because those drive me insane. So I need a female. I need a female dun-eye, a female black-faced white lip, and a male ring python to be happy in this world. And then I also
to find any pleasure
any pleasure in this world, I also need more. Like, I want to get 1.1 more Timors. I need to get one more female gold phase white lip, because then I'll have 2.2 of those. And I did also want like I also want 1.1 more of black face white lip. So I eventually want to get 2.2 of the fun stuff, the weird things, the out there stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah. As far as like other things, like I've thought about like Papuan pythons. I've thought about Argentine boas and this, that, and the other thing. You know, it's really just going to depend on space and time and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm like, I have no.
You'd need a big.
I'm like, I have no space. There's no space at all. Riley's like, would you like a trio of rainbow boas? Sure. Damn it. Like, it's,
would you like a pair of this 8-foot false water cobras?
Thank you. Like, and that happens. So it's like, I think I think the list right now is I'm pretty content. It's going to be a lot of pairing things up and then adding to projects, but like I'm not sitting there like I used to, where I'm like, I need a caramel jaguar or I'm going to die. Like, it's whatever. So yeah, I want to say that there's a few things on that list. I mean, I would like to get some more Maclots, but I'm not going to buy any more. I'm hoping just to produce some. Right. Or that those guys produce some, and then I'll just keep some of my own. Like, it's, it's one of those things. So there's not a lot of stuff, but a lot of it though comes from friends, like where I'm like, I don't want Argentines, and I go to Keith McPhee's place and see his Argentine boas, and I'm like, God damn it, I want Argentines. Like, it's just that, and that's just how it goes. Like, I don't need the dun-eye, and then I go down to KJ's and I see them and I'm like, I need these dun-eye. Like, right. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know how that goes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, speaking of the rainbow boas, how are those going? I think you called them Bitey and Spawn of Satan at some point in our group chat, but yeah, they don't want to leave their humidity hides either. But unlike the ring python, where like I'll open the drawer and it'll come out for food, they stay buried, so I have to like open the humidity hide, with a fuzzy and then go looking for a boa and hope to God they don't just bite my fingers. So yeah, they're fun already.
Nice.
Why did I do this?
They are beautiful.
They're gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Riley gave me he gave me a pair and he gave Eric a female, and Eric's like, why don't you just hang on to the girl? I'm like, God damn it, I knew we were gonna do that. Like it was like, now I got 3. So and each one, they're all gorgeous animals, but and obviously it's a direction I probably should have gone with epicries instead of the direction I went years ago. Because I think rainbow boas are a little bit more interesting, and there's a little bit more of a market, and they're not as filthy as say like some of the other ones. But they're a cool thing to mess around with, and it's one of those things like I'm starting to do a lot more of the wholesale to pet stores, other breeders and things like that. Like I produced 20 something corn snakes this year. I didn't sell any of them on my website.
Sure.
Yep. Some pet store swooped in and grabbed them all. And I'm like, cool. And that'd be one of those things where like, if say I had a bunch of clutches of carpets and then a litter of rainbow boas, I don't have to sell them all on my table, and it might be something that might be more appealing. So it all comes down to the whole breeding for me thing. But you also have a lot of babies still. Like you cannot keep them all. So
absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, speaking of Riley, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Colubrid Corner, new show. So the first few episodes have been awesome. I'm really enjoying it. It's cool to like learn about these new species that I have never heard of that are rarely discussed.
And that's the thing where it's like, if it's not a flashy, cool colubrid that easily is breedable, nobody really touches it. Like, everybody knows of a dragon snake, and because of its badass look and the fact that all this stuff, but very few people are keeping it because it's probably because of the whole frog thing, and it's a dick to keep alive. You imagine if the dragon snakes were like corn snakes, they'd be freaking everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But there are a ton of colubrids that are kind of along the same lines of like maybe a step or two behind a very popular species in herpetoculture. Like, Madagascar hogs probably would have been something that we would have covered on the show until they started to become popular and being imported. We talked about I forget the name. It was just so long. It was like the sheep stabber. Was it like it?
Yeah, the one with the fun name.
And it was just like
burger.
Exactly, correct. But it was like it's this one funny snake, and it kind of has a cool pattern. But the story behind it is that people were convinced that it was killing the sheep because the sheep would get bit by like a cobra that wouldn't stick around, and then they'd come over and this snake would be like, hey, what's up? They'd be like,
the spotted scop sticker.
Thank you. The spotted scop sticker. So it was just something cool to learn about. I mean, It's awesome. And also there are several other species that, if you can't breed a ton of it and it doesn't have a morph and it doesn't look flashy, it's like it doesn't have any kind of value in U.S. Exactly. U.S. herpetoculture. Well, maybe we can just, I don't know, do it. Like it's
maybe we can like animals.
Maybe we can like it because it's cool looking and it kind of produces cool stuff. Like and that's where it starts. And who knows? I mean, there are so many more animals out there than what is popularly bred in herpetoculture.
Oh yeah.
That it's surprising that people don't know these things. I mentioned a ball python, everybody freaking knows it. I mentioned several other different, even then, like there were people there at the show buying ball pythons who didn't know what the hell a retic was. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, what's the difference?
All right. Yeah, there's
Which one's better for me?
None really. There's no difference, sir. I had to adopt the rule of if you don't know what it is, you can't buy it.
It's a great rule.
It's a great rule. And I wish other people would adopt said rule, because I don't think people
At
should
least
own
until you have time to go home and
Oh no, but
figure it out.
I also do live in the Wild West of herpetoculture, which is Pennsylvania. I don't believe that most people should own crocodilians. I know this is going to get me stones thrown at my house, okay?
I agree.
I don't think a lot of people should own crocodilians. I don't think a lot of people should own venomous. I fully support a permit system for both. I know
agree.
I'm a radical asshole. Like it's
Well, I don't see it that way. I know a lot of people get their panties in a bunch about that, but I mean, you could even just put it this way. Who has been hands-on with a crocodilian in this chat? Owen,
who has been a personal chew toy of a 5-foot alligator twice.
Yeah. So, maybe you know a little something about who should have crocodilians.
It comes down to the thing of being able to give the animal everything it requires.
Right.
And a lot of people cannot do that because they don't understand. In order for that animal to be happy and healthy, it is way more than you expect. Also, that animal's going to get huge.
Right. And it's not going to want to be your little buddy.
Exactly. And it's just one of those things. And I mean, I used to do rescues through the zoo of crocodilians in Pennsylvania. So, I mean, people would have, and there was the most common size was between once they hit the 4 to 5 foot mark.
Right.
Because that's when they're assholes and their teeth are still sharp.
It's quicker than you'd think too, right?
It is. It's about a year. It's about a year and a half.
Wow.
Wow. If you feed it enough. and then at one point we did actually end up going and getting an adult male out of somebody's house. So it was, they're not something you should mess around with. And, it is whatever, but that's my little soapbox for that one. But
I'm with you.
Good.
Awesome. All right. Well, if it sounds good to you, I'm ready to move into the old show and tell. So,
all right.
If you're listening to us on a podcast platform, this next part is not going to make any sense to you.
Nope.
I will probably erase it from the audio. So go to YouTube, Centralian Exotics on YouTube. Owen's going to show us some of his animals and tell us a little bit about them.
We might have to do the white lip again.
What happened?
He's shedding in my hands. Yeah, it's just like
they just suck.
Just like all of a sudden, much better now, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, like see, he's just.
Oh wow!
Just coming off in my damn hands.
Owen, what have you brought us?
All right, so this is Kaiju. and he is a southern or black phase white lip python.
Wow.
He's my only boy, my male. And I have to get him a girl at some point, but and he just shed, so that's where you get the like in my hands as we were getting him going. Like he was finishing up, so
we might have met him a little bit, but now we're meeting him prettier.
Now him again prettier. So like as you can see, he's got that nice iridescence that kind of comes with them. They're like oil slicks is what they look like. I fell in love with this species because I went over to my friend's place and he had a pair, and the male was an asshole and did not want to be touched and literally chased him across the room. And I was just like, I need
that one.
I need these things. They have a they're a bigger, thicker version of the goldface. They got the meteor kind of head. You can see the
heads are just
absolutely
beautiful.
Much more different. Like it is blockier. It is it's definitely more of a python head.
Yeah, it's very much like a Hollywood animated snake head, if that makes sense. Like when people think of pythons, I feel like that's
I equate it to kind of like it's very much more of a Moluccan scrub kind of head, as opposed to like a white lip. A gold white lip has its own distinct thing. This looks more like a Moluccan to me. And I love him.
Yeah, he seems very placid. I think white lips can have a reputation of being a little bit
it's a coin flip. Yeah. It's a coin flip. They're either very placid, very nice like him, or they're insane psychopaths. There's no in between.
Sure.
None. So but yeah, he's my only boy.
And has he always been that way? Or did you kind of have to work with him?
He was a little bit flighty as a baby. I don't work with anybody. Like I don't like pull them out all the time. Like, honest to God, I'm a little bit more surprised that he's letting me do all this stuff too, because I've never really handled him. So,
sure.
Like I said, I've said it numerous times. I don't need him to love me in order for him to breed. I don't care.
Absolutely. Like, he might even do better if you don't.
If he hates me a little bit, that's fine by me. So, yeah, one of my favorites.
What's he feeding on at the moment?
Small to medium rats, and then he'll also do chicks and quail every once in a while too. Anything he wants, pretty much. Like if I put it in front of him, he's like, "I'll try it." So
he's one of the VIPs of the room, isn't he?
He's one of those. He's one of those ones that you really enjoy it. You really enjoy him. You really enjoy the fact that he's here. And it's one of those things like you open up the cage and you're like, "Man, he's still in there. That's awesome!" Like cool.
Yeah. I get that totally.
And he's definitely one of those ones that I will come out like and show people where it's like, here's a black-faced white lip, because you might not see that other places. So
no, they're not a common one.
And I kind of don't want them to be. Like I don't want them to. I do and I don't. Like I want them to be appreciated, but I don't want them to be readily bred and available to the point where they
underappreciated.
Exactly. If they're readily available and bred and more people can get them, awesome, especially the people that appreciate them. I don't want them to go to somebody who just thought, I'll get a python for my 5-year-old.
That one has cool rainbow colors.
How many people were like, "Hey, you breed snakes? Yeah, why don't you breed the rainbow ones that I see on Instagram?" It's called a rainbow snake. No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
That's not a snake.
It's a black-faced white lip, and I've had them for years. You have? Right. Yes, I have.
Or a Boland's python, in which case, unsee that.
Never
sir.
know. Yeah, delete that from your head. So, yep.
Beautiful. And where did you get him?
Kaiju actually belonged to Eric for like half a day. Like somebody. It was back
Eric Burke.
Yep, back when Eric was getting all the white lips, or getting all the python species. He got a white lip, and at that point I didn't have any. And he had them for a while, and he actually had a pair, and then I think he lost the female, and then he contacts me. He goes, "Dude," he's like, "Why do I have a white lip and you don't?" I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "You just come down here and take this thing." I'm like, "Okay." Like, don't have to tell me twice. So that's where I got Kaiju from.
Very cool. Awesome.
Yep. So I'm going to put him away for real this time, and then we'll go get somebody else.
On to the next.
Yep. Yeah, don't grab that, buddy.
All right.
Shit.
God damn it.
Shit. So
Oh.
this is Marius, and
I think
he
we
is.
like this species.
I think we like this species.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we do. I pulled him off of his rock. He's all confused. So it's
beautiful.
Yeah. So this is my male rough scale python. Hopefully be breeding this year.
Is he the sire of the
yes
last
year's clutch? Okay. And I like him because he's got these really cool stripes coming down.
Oh yeah.
Neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the female has the same thing. This is from Dave D.
Okay.
This pair. And this is like I said, this is my boy. He's my only boy at the moment. And
wow, he is absolutely beautiful. You know, I've seen still shots. I'm not sure if I've seen video of a Ruffy before.
Video of a Ruffy? Yeah. I'm trying to get him too. I don't want to hold him up too much, but you can almost see his head scale, his shield on the top of his head. He's matured a lot this past year. He's got that longer snout now.
Yeah.
And he's definitely a lot thicker. He's on small rats. Okay. Which is exactly where I want him to be. He's not going to get anything bigger. Perfect. The female is the one who's just been a bitch about it and is only on only on adult mice. But and of course, if it were the other way around, the world would be freaking perfect. Like it's like, oh no, the male wants mice. Yes. Like, of course. Yeah, exactly. Wow. They are so cool. And cool. The feel is fantastic because a lot of people don't talk about rough scales are not. It's a gradual like gradient. Okay. They're most rough, like they're the hardest at the top along the spine. Really? They actually get a little bit softer as they go down the side, and then their belly scales are completely interesting. So okay. Like right around here, there's no rough scale part. So it only comes up about from the spine down to about here, about midway, and then after that, there's no keeled scales. It's smooth. Gotcha. Wow, that's odd. That's very odd. No, nobody thinks about these things. No, you just think it's bumpy like all over. The dangly on the rhino rats. Exactly. So it's my favorite species of all time, and it was one of those things that like I saw a video of Brian Barczyk holding some. I almost you're mentioned not my favorite species. I almost mentioned what happened, and then it almost happened to me. Barczyk just got lit up by this rough scale in Australia, and it was, I mean, of course he was happy as a clam because he's getting bit by a rough scale, but he's getting lit up on his arms and stuff like that. And I'm like, was that an old snake bites video or something? I think it was an old snake bites video, but I was like, that is the most gorgeous animal I've ever seen. Yeah, and then after that, I start looking at like the Mark O'Shea stuff, all that research thing, and it's just so cool. And I'm with Eric, and we're at Crocosaurus Cove, and I'm crying because I'm like, mine aren't as big as these, and I'll never get them to breed. He's like, it's like, shut up! Like, oh my god, dude! Like, they're overfed zoo animals. Calm down. Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So badass, absolutely badass. Yeah, I'm super glad that you're working with them and that your pair is up to size. Dude, if these things were $60, I'd have 20 of them. Like, I mean, absolutely. Like, I don't care. I'm waiting for it. I'm hopeful. They're like, rough scales are going to crash. Yes. Like, I want to get I want to spend $1,000 and get 10 of them. Like, that's all I want. Right. So, that's the other thing. Is like, I'm going to produce hopefully this year. And then I'm keeping at least a pair back just for myself. So if not all. If not all, I'll be my number. Exactly. If not all, I'll grudgingly give one to Eric, and then that's it. You know. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, he just got his first one too. He did, and thank God he appreciates it. I was hoping. I was really kind of. I'm like, please don't be one of those guys. It's like, it's cool. I'm like, no, dude, come on. Right. Yeah, I love it because I show people come over, and I'm like, look at the rough scale, and they're like, it's cool. I'm like, get out. Like, it's just like, get out of my house. You're no longer worthy. Get that, smack them and take it back. Yeah. So no, yeah, they are absolutely incredible animals, and yeah, it would be very cool to be in person with one someday. my friend took apart his Cages by Design cage, and they have those fake rock shelves.
Oh,
So I took them and I sealed them with clear sealer, and then I gorilla adhesive them to the side of my PVC cages. So these guys
Sweet.
actually have like a rock ledge, and that's where I keep finding him, is just curled up on the rock ledge.
That's awesome.
And then the female they have also hides on the ceiling, and she's constantly on the ceiling in her hide, and he's constantly on his rock. So these guys definitely have their favorite spots. That's all they want to be at, is those spots. So
very cool. That's
cool.
fantastic. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna put him away, even though I want to keep holding him.
Yeah.
So, and it's gone. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Fucking Crebo.
Oh, awesome.
If it would just sit still for 2 seconds, I can put my headset on and we can talk about it. Oh, you asshole. All right.
I might have to leave some of that in.
this may not go well. He's tied up on the chair right now and trying to constrict me, so this might actually be to our benefit because he can't go anywhere.
Excellent.
So
wow.
This
okay.
is
Unicolor Crebo.
This is my male unicolor Crebo. No, not the microphone. Yeah, this
I swear
is
they know what microphones are, and
I think they know everything.
Want to destroy them.
Yeah. So this is Khan. He's the male unicolor Crebo.
Khan.
And and he's actually happy. Because this is a good time, because I usually pull him out on Sundays to double check to make sure he doesn't have any like bite wounds from the female.
Sure.
And he isn't like being abused in there. Yeah. Nobody's killing him. Yeah. Get off of that. So
Crebo are such a cool species. Is there any particular reason that you went with the unicolor, or was that just
what was offered to me?
Okay.
And I Dimercon was always something I kind of wanted to get into, but it was never something I actually like bit hard.
Sure.
Into trying to track down, because I always wanted indigos, because indigos are something that are a little bit harder to get in Pennsylvania and a little bit harder to, I left this cage open, and I'm just making sure that, Jayla isn't like I don't see his female, so I'm just making sure she's not like making a beeline out of her cage, because then that'd be interesting.
So they are a pretty active species then, aren't
they? They never stop moving, ever. And he's constantly, he's wrapping around the chair right now because he wants me to let him go.
Oh.
So, dude, come on.
Are they a semi-arboreal snake?
No, but they're just very strong-bodied.
Okay.
Very. I mean, they have a lot of muscle and a lot of movement.
A lot of gripping power.
Oh, God, yeah, and they're fast. Like, I put him down for 5 seconds to put my headset on, and he was already halfway across the room.
Right.
So, they're just quick and just constant movement. So
now I've heard a lot of people when they're talking, okay, there we go, there's a lot more body down there.
More body. There's a lot more body down there. So there's his tail.
There he is.
So yeah, he's almost 6 foot, which is about where I want him to be. Any further, and you see he's kind of doing the neck flare thing. And that he does not like any of this. So
I love the black near the eyes on the Crebo.
Yeah.
Kind of like that emo tear thing going
on. Yeah.
It's so cool.
I do enjoy the pattern and the color of the yellowtail a little bit more. Just 'cause I think it's a little bit different. And then obviously you get into like indigos and things like that. But Dimercon's just a cool species all in itself.
Those indigos with the red underneath.
Yeah, they're cool.
What if I could have any Dimercon, I think I'd.
I want to say there's like Texas indigo or something like that are gorgeous, or sorry, Mexican indigo or something like that. They're gorgeous too. Yeah, something or other. I forget what it's called. Yeah.
So I've heard a lot of people. Oh, go ahead.
Looks like a forest cobra. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people that keep them. I feel like I've heard a lot of people say that they think they are smarter than the average snake. Do you agree with that?
I would agree, because they know the sound of the lock. They know the sound the lock makes on the cage, because I have a showcase lock, a tumble lock.
Okay.
They know when I'm unlocking the door, and they can hear it. I also say that these things just pound food. Like I fed them 3 days ago, and their cage already needs to be cleaned today.
Gotcha. They're fast poopers.
Yes. And like I said, dude, like they are on winter feed right now, which is I feed them enough so they don't hurt each other. But that still consists of like 2 quail and like a rat. Like that's
Very fast metabolism.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Wow. Very impressive animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric doesn't trust them. They move too quick for him. So
more for Owen.
and more for Owen. Yeah. So like I said,
Awesome.
He's still going. And no, not the cord. So yeah, maybe a more manageable species will be the next one that comes out.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So I actually got two because I'm a glutton for punishment. So there is the don't go nowhere. Madagascar giant hog.
Okay.
So that's the difference there with that guy. And then in this hand, he cooperates a little bit, is the blonde Madagascar giant hog.
Now, is that
so you got to compare and contrast.
Is blonde a natural phenotype?
Yep, it's a completely different species.
Gotcha.
Okay. So yeah, so this is just the giant ones, and this is my juvenile male, or he's actually probably more along the lines of my subadult male, and then this is an adult female blonde.
Okay, so the blondes are a bit of a smaller.
Right. So the blondes and the speckleds are a bit smaller. My speckleds are actually smaller than this. They should I should really bulk them up a little bit this off season. So
gotcha.
Yeah. So, but they're a really cool species, very much like a false water cobra kind of deal. As you can see, he's gonna start doing the neck flare a little bit too, the little false hood thing going.
Okay.
She'll kind of do it too a little bit. The male's definitely worse, but she's actually definitely my cleaner female because they're both. She's a wild caught.
Okay.
Young when I got her, she was much smaller, and he's a captive hatched.
Got it. Wow. So. The giant hog is really beautiful. The pattern.
The pattern is thing, and they can get if he wasn't all twisted up, you can see the kind of nice.
Oh wow.
Cool color, so it definitely does. It's like a blue beauty. It transitions from a dark, and then it kind of gets this nice kind of ladder pattern. Cool, and then it goes back to dark
on the sides of the ventral as well.
Yep. Yeah. And again, these guys eat just like the other guys. I just lay their food down and walk away. They don't want to see me. They don't want to be anywhere near me. If I had another arm, I could show you the speckled, but I only got two.
Haven't invented that yet.
Haven't gotten there yet. So
awesome. Now, do you have a favorite between those two species?
I love these guys just because these are the ones that kind of got me into it.
The giants.
And and these guys still have a little bit more of an attitude. Like they'll puff and flare. These guys just kind of want to run. Gotcha. And then the speckleds don't care about anything. They're just they're like a funky looking corn snake crossed with a Western hognose. And it's just all right, I guess you're cool. So, and that's the one everybody wants. So
both of these are Madagascar?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's, I forget all the Latin, and I'm sorry, Riley.
That's okay.
But it's it's just there are three species of Madagascar hognose: speckled blondes and giants.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Oh, I'm learning. That's awesome.
There you go. So
very cool.
And they definitely had more of an attitude when they were tinier.
Gotcha.
They're they get big, and there's you're not going to hurt me. You're just going to feed me, and it's fine. They're very cool species.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Yep. Was that?
I said Riley said tell him to bring out a rainbow boa because he wants blood.
Of course he does. Of course he does. Oh God. Okay. So
excellent. What do we got here?
Coastal carpet python. This is Trinity. She is one of my first and originals, and
I've heard the name.
Yeah, she's a 2007 from Ted Thompson. You're not going to sit still, are you? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So
she's very pretty.
She's they called them lesser tigers, so it was a coastal tiger crossed with a coastal, and then she just didn't get any stripes. So she has definitely produced many striped kids, and Soundwave, Echo, all those are the ones that I've talked about numerous times.
Right.
But yeah, so she's one of my oldest carpets.
She seems like a pretty big girl.
Oh yeah, this was the one when I fed her, she was eating a medium rat twice a week when I was raising her up and shit like that. Like this was all not what not to do.
Sometimes you got to do that to learn what to do.
Right. And then in her retirement, she hasn't been liking it because I slimmed her down. So like she's now on like the proper diet of feeding every, couple weeks, and she gets a large rat, or, I think at one point I fed her a bunny just because I had one left over because one of the retics didn't eat. She took it. So, but then she didn't eat for a month. So,
I see. Yeah.
But she's one of my big girls that'll lay like 32, 35 something eggs. And it's just like, I don't need that anymore. Like, I don't need that many babies from one female, please. Like, so.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's great to see an older animal too. I feel like, it's more rare to see.
It is. I mean, and it's just one of those things where, a lot of those carpets from, when I was first started, a lot of people lost carpets around age 4, 5, 6, just because we were feeding them like you would retics and ball pythons and stuff like that. Now, I mean, she's getting up there.
She is in retirement.
She is in partial retirement. Partial retirement. She didn't breed last year. She bred the year before.
Okay.
And that was just because, and then last year Venus bred, but I don't think I'm gonna. I mean, I think I bred her the year before because she ovulated and it was so freaking obvious that I was just like, all right, and I just threw a boy in there. But I have her daughter, I have 2 of her granddaughters. I have her grandson. I have her son.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I actually have cool. I bred her to one of my original male jags years ago, and I produced a boy called Echo, and I bred Echo to a red tiger, and I produced my male Soundwave. And the problem is I've been trying to get a girl this entire time of like this really nice tiger jag thing. So 2 years ago, she ovulated and I threw Talon back in with her, just to like repeated a pairing from eons ago. And I got it. I got like 8 eggs out of like 16 were viable, and I got my one female tiger jag. Like that was the only. Like she was the only tiger jag they hatched out of that clutch, and it was a girl. And I'm like, finally, Jesus Christ! So I finally got all that stuff. So I have like her. I have a bunch of her grandkids and stuff like that, and then I actually have her daughter, like her direct daughter, that I'm working with too. So
that's fantastic. I love when it becomes a generational thing like that.
Yeah,
that'll be the day I know that I've actually done something.
Right.
Here,
She's also the most mouthy carpet I've ever had. She's constantly like air and stuff like that.
Okay.
Constantly.
I have a few like that with the bredli that just like to make noise. Yeah.
It's like, are you happy? All right, yeah. All right, God damn it. Like, it's not an angry hiss or anything like that.
It's not an illness. They just
constantly moving around. Like it.
Yeah. I've had that happen, and friends are like, why is it doing that? I'm like, I don't know. It has one lung and 2 really small nose holes. Like,
is she sick? No, she's probably aggravated a little bit that we dragged her out.
Yeah.
And she's now like totally twisted around the chair. So
excellent. All right. Well, that can be the last one if you're done.
We'll let's stop. Like, let me grab a team more and then we'll call it there.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. Let me get her out.
He approaches the cage. He slides the door. Out comes the bin.
Whole bin. It's better just to not touch her. Oh, you're gonna move. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're fine. Okay. Oh, you're fine.
Live television, what the kids want.
Exactly. What's happening? Yeah. Okay.
Ooh. Oh, large animal.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Right near the face.
No face shots.
No face shots, and let's just pucker that little butthole up.
Okay, so this is female Timor.
Yeah, this is Valkyrie.
Wow. Oh man, look at the yellow along the lips.
Yeah, on the lips, and just the fact that she's a big big animal.
Not a little snake. No.
And it doesn't give that big animal like feel until you get her in hand, and then you're just like,
right.
just teeth. There's about to be teeth. Like yeah. So.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I
They're
can't say that I've seen an adult Timor either.
They're gorgeous animals.
She is absolutely
underrated,
beautiful.
gorgeous animals. Yep.
I wasn't expecting the shades of yellow.
No. And she's like tying me all.
Oh. The snake has muted the mic. They're intelligent. And they're done with the show.
She's cut off communication.
Yeah,
That can only mean one. Yeah. That can only mean one thing: invasion. So yeah, so,
they've grown too intelligent.
There you go. So I'm gonna put her back where she kills everything.
Absolutely.
Yep. Good thing is that I can put her back from here.
Yeah, that worked well.
If she goes quietly, don't let go of the vent until she's in the cage.
Does she kind of do a projectile situation?
Yes, they all do.
Ooh.
And then she gets her bin back, and now she's going to just be unhappy for at least an hour.
I can see why you're willing to deal with that kind of personality, though. They are beautiful animals.
They are. They're absolutely fantastic. And it's just one of those things where, it's the more you see of a Timor python, the more you agree with it. And the more also it's just like, oh, do they have morphs? Who gives a shit? Like
right.
It doesn't need one. It's a gorgeous animal. I just want more. I want more, but I don't want to have to pay for them. So I would like to breed my own. So
got it. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for putting yourself through that. Those are all beautiful.
Listen, you got to go for the ones that are good that people want to see. And I could have busted out a caramel jag, but no, people want to see the white lip, the Timor, the rough scale. Like no.
It's all the things that we hear you talk about as fans
hitters.
of NPR, and now we.
And that's honest to God how you see my own collection going more towards is that
right.
I'm like, this is the cool one. These are the cool ones.
Right,
I love the carpets. I enjoy the carpets, but afterwards it's the same motorcycle, different paint job. So
I get you. Once I have more cage space, I think that additions are going to be in that vein.
And I was going to bust out a Woma python for you, but the boy that probably would have tolerated it ate today, and I
no worries.
Don't want to push that. He
Next
also
time.
is also the other boy that definitely would have tolerated is in with the female that will not tolerate anything. So
yeah, we don't want
next time. Yeah.
All right. So if you're listening on podcast places, I just brought you back. Owen just showed us some amazing animals that you can see on my YouTube channel, and now we're going to move on to the rapid fire, and then
go for it.
We'll do that, and we'll get out of here.
Do it. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I have here. You can try to answer them quickly, but if you have a longer answer, that's fine too.
Cool.
No rules here. No timer.
Got it.
All right. What is a common reptile or snake myth or misconception that you particularly hate, like something that really gets under your skin that you want to be corrected in the mainstream?
They're slimy.
Okay. Yeah.
I hate it, and it's a constant one.
Because why did that even happen? They were never slimy.
They're never slimy, and that's something like through the educational thing. I always used to have this big berm draped around me, and people were like, "Ew, it's slimy." I'm like, "No." I'm like, and I would do the pet your fingernail.
Yeah.
Is your fingernail slimy? No. Your fingernail's nice and soft and smooth. Your fingernail's made of the same stuff that his scales are made out of. So he's not slimy. He's nice and soft and smooth. And
that's a good one. I mean, your clammy hands are more slimy than the snakes.
And also the does it bite? Every animal bites. A 5-year-old bites more. Like It's like, shut up.
Yes. I have been bitten by more house cats than snakes. That's for sure.
It's worse. You get bit by a mammal. It's worse. I've been bitten by a dog and had to go to the hospital. My snakes are just like, all right. Yeah. I'll heal. Yeah.
Okay, what was your favorite thing that you found in your trip to Australia besides the Owen Pelly python?
Oh, well, God damn it.
Aside from the Holy Grail.
Ah, damn it. I mean, and I showed you that video and I forgot that I was talking the entire time in that video because I never watched it with the audio, and it's like me going, come on, come on, come on, come on. Like it's coming off the rock. And I'm like, that's embarrassing. But I would say the blackhead, because
Sweet.
We found the blackhead after we found the Owen python, so we were already higher than you could possibly fucking imagine. And we're coming back and we found a children's python, so we were like, holy shit. And then we're driving, and it was in the middle of the road, and Keith lined it up and drove over past the blackhead, and we kept going, and I was in the back seat, so I didn't see it. And I jump out of the car, and me and Rob are just running, and Rob is like a little toy poodle with his little legs that do this, and I'm just like pushing it. So of course I get there first, and I shine the light, and it's a blackhead, and I just start screaming. And then Rob's there, and he gets there, he's like, blackhead. And then Eric comes up behind us, and we're all jumping and screaming as this poor blackhead is like, what the hell?
What's going on?
What's happening? And Keith is still at the car because he didn't run over. And because then we're like, oh, we need the bull, we need this. And we're running around because they're getting ready to take pictures. Rob's moving it off the road. Keith's like, what is it? We're like, it's a blackhead. He's like, yes. And like now he's screaming back there. And then the car's still in the middle of the street. So we had to pull it off to the side of the road. We pulled the blackhead off the road. I mean, it found its way off the roads somehow.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Hands free.
Hands free. It just did it. And then we just took a bunch of pictures, and it was like the cap end. It was like, this is like, yes. And
that's amazing. Yeah. How big was it?
It was a nice size. It was about, I'd say it was about a 5 foot maybe. I mean, it's hard to judge, but
wow.
Eric's holding it, and in that one picture, and you can kind of get a feel for it. But I mean, that was just,
I haven't seen the picture. Cool. Was it kind of like the Western look, or a little bit more of the Eastern, like kind of
a little bit more of the Western look? It was a little bit Western look. It definitely had like the bands and the predominant color, and it was gorgeous. Of course, the problem is that I keep seeing these things in the wild, and I'm like, it's fucking beautiful. And then people are like, no, it's dog shit. Like, it looks like crap. Like, I went herping with KJ, and we found a yellow rat snake, and I'm like, that thing's gorgeous. He goes, dude, this is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, oh.
Context is everything, isn't it?
I like it. He's like, shut up. I'm like, all right. So it's, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think I already know the answer to this one after our conversation here, but I'll ask it anyway. So, what would be the only species, if you could only keep one for the rest of your life, that you'd hold on to?
It's hard.
It'd be the roughy.
It would be the rough scales, but it's hard. It's so hard because it's like, could I set up an entire room full of white lips? Fuck yes. Like, I mean, just like, yeah, I could easily set up a whole room full of white lips, and then, you know what? If you try breeding 18 pairs, maybe 2 will go. Like, and I mean, but the problem is like I would miss so much, and I can't believe for the longest time I only had one species, and it's because it's like I can go around my room, like I'm staring at my retic, my good retic, the one I do like, is actually out of her bin and just laying there, and she's gorgeous, and it's something cool to see. I mean, the Valkyrie, I barely touch those Timor pythons, but when I do, you can appreciate how awesome they are. Even just looking at them, you can appreciate how awesome looking they are.
Right.
So it would be hard, but it would be rough scales. So,
got it. Yeah. Okay. And what is something that current Owen wishes that he could tell beginner hobbyist Owen?
They don't need to eat that much.
Okay. That's number one.
Yeah, I spent a lot of money on rodents. I fed a lot of snakes to their death, and I would say that that they don't need to eat that much, and also, it's okay if they don't eat. Like, because I used to freak out a ton when they wouldn't eat. It's fine. Like I had a baby jungle that went with me to the show, and today I tried to feed, and he just kept biting it, and I'm just like, one more shot, and then he didn't bite it. I'm like, cool.
See you next time. Yeah.
Bit it, and I'm like, close this drawer. You'll be hungry next time. These rhino rat snakes, I think I would have driven myself insane with these baby rhinos, because they do a lot of the bite, duck down, or bite and run away, and you almost got to like wait for them to figure out that running isn't going to work, and then they bite it one last time and they're like, oh, and then they start eating it, and it's like, okay. Like, but you're there constantly, like you're like mouse and you're catching a rhino as it's running away and putting it back in the bin.
Right.
And it's been a learning curve, and it's something that it's not going to be an easy gradual button. So I would say that not to freak out over their food.
Gotcha. What is your favorite non-reptile animal?
Kangaroo.
Okay. Yeah. It sounds like they were pretty cool.
We were in Australia and we were talking, and we saw a ton of roos in Australia, and I just started talking about like kangaroo facts. And then an hour later, I think Rob was like, "We did not know you knew that much about kangaroos. Will you please stop?" I'm like, "Okay." Like it was, oh my god! It's like, okay, so
nice.
But that was the fun part of Australia.
Hey, they're an iconic animal.
Yeah, I mean, like we were freaking out. I was freaking out at least over wallabies, kangaroos, and stuff that we saw. And then we were driving down Durat, and there was an echidna walking across the street, and Keith's like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "It's an echidna!" And we like stop on the side. This poor thing's balled up trying to get away, and I'm like, "Look at it, it's spiky!" And they're like, "Yeah."
And you could call them puggles when they're
puggles,
little.
baby puggles. Like,
yeah.
Awesome,
so, awesome. Okay. What was your worst reptile decision ever?
Selling animals because I got into a bind. There have been multiple species and multiple animals that I've sold that I only end up replacing later just because I'm stupid. Like I have had more high value, high dollar corn snakes in my life than I'd like to go over. Like, cause I was just like, well, we're a little short, sell the corn snakes. And then they all sell. And then like a year later, I'm like, get more corn snakes.
I miss my corn snakes.
I need corn snakes. You know what's an easy animal to breed and sell wholesale? Corn snakes. Get them.
Sure.
And then,
so
I had that, like I've bought and sold corn snakes. I've bought and sold white lips and all this other stuff. And it's a constant thing that I think is just stupid, where I just need to stick with it. And, I think that's where a lot of people end up making a mistake too, is that they get frustrated or they sell it, or they get into a bind and they sell it. And then the animal clock restarts, or the other person they sell it to kills one of them. This doesn't work. That doesn't work. And then the pair's gone forever.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
I am very much into now of they're here until they die kind of a deal. So
got it.
Yep.
Okay. This is one that I asked Eric, and he said, I think the quote was, well, I don't really have any, but Owen does, but I don't want to say it for him. So the question is the funniest or craziest customer interactions, weird trade offers, just anything in that vein.
All right. So weird trade offers. I was offered several newly refurbished chainsaws for a snake rack. To which I said no, and the guy's like, "Well, they cost money." I'm like, "Sell them and then give me the money."
Yeah.
I was offered a RC car that was one of those professional like racing ones that goes like on turf. I'm like, and I said, "I do not want to trade my snake for your toy," and the reply was, "It's not a toy." And I think good for you. I don't care.
It's an adult accessory item.
Yep. At one point, I was talking about my dog at a reptile show, and somebody offered me a mixture of my dog and a pit bull, which is called because my dog is a Catahoula leopard hound dog mix. And then somebody offered me what was called a Catabully, which is a Catahoula mixed with a pit bull. And I believe my reaction was, "Are you fucking insane?" Because my dog recently, I think 2 days ago, my dog found the cookie jar, brought it down off the countertop, and then broke into it to the point where his gums were bleeding, but he got them damn cookies. Like it was
wow.
Okay. I was offered cassowary chicks for carpet pythons.
I've heard that one. That's nuts. That's nuts.
Which I'm like, I don't have the permits for that. He goes, "Oh, I thought you did." I'm like, what the
Why
fuck?
would yeah.
And then it's hilarious because I go on like some farm auction Facebook page that's out in like Missouri, and I'm like, oh, like, cattle, sheep, kangaroo. Oh, cool, cassowaries. Jesus. Like, and it's just like breeding pair of cassowaries. I'm like, wait. I'm like, well, this has got to be rare. Click, cassowary. There are too many cassowaries. Like, what the hell? So it's just I've been offered some weird stuff. A lot of them have been like, will you take gun parts? Will you take will you take tools? I'm like, no, like I would like money. And it's never for anything huge. Like, it's never for the $750 snake or this. It's always for like the $125 this. No, I would not like to do that. Well, you could sell it. I'm like, or you could, and then give me the money. Or they're always, the thing is, like,
buy the snake like everybody else.
It's $500 value of tools. I'm like, I do not want tools. I would like money for snake.
Sir.
I would like money can be exchanged for goods and services. Like, it's
yeah. Wow. Okay. Chainsaws. That's great.
That's the most recent. That's
That
the
is
most
great.
recent is chainsaws. Yeah. Which
Now, do
like,
any of those people ever come back and actually give you money?
the one time the guy offered me for the tools, and I said no. And then he kind of tried to fight on me, and I said no. And then a week later, I sold the rack, and then he replied back, I guess I'll just pay for it. And I said, sorry, dude, it's sold. And then he replied back with, I'm just trying to give you the money now. And I'm like, dude
well, too late.
Wait, I don't. What about, dude, it's sold? Don't you understand? Like,
man.
My favorite thing is that people assume that they know you and that you're going to be willing to do things for them. So my favorite is that I was talking about glitch at a show, Macklot's Pythons, and some guy overheard. He goes, you got Max? I'm like, yeah, I got some. I'm trying to breed him. He goes, that's awesome. I'm going to send you my female. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, and he's like, I'm sorry. My name's Phil. Hi, Phil. Who the fuck are you? Like, he's like, I'm going to send you my female. You breed it. I'm like, I don't know who you are. Yeah. No, I'm not going to take your female. No,
Go
I'm not
home, Phil.
Get out of here. Like, and that's the thing is that people when you have success with an animal, people automatically assume, number one, that you will take theirs and breed it for them. And that's like, no, I will not. And
because the snake's a snake, right?
Exactly. And that's the weirdest thing is that people will automatically assume, or they'll ask me the question about how to breed it, and then they'll follow it up with, or I'll just send it to you. And it's like, no, like, no, I'm good. I don't like other people's animals in my collection.
Right. Especially someone that you just met.
Right. Exactly. Who I didn't know 5 seconds ago. Yeah, sure. Bring it over. Let's enter into a deal where if I mess up, you could potentially sue me. Cool. Yeah, no.
Yeah, good point. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking of like diseases and stuff, but
yeah, that too. You have to think about it from all the standpoints. It's why you don't just buy animals and bring them home and throw them in with your shit.
Right. Yeah, the unboxings in the snake room.
If I offer to send you an animal on breed loan, it's because, number one, I trust you. Number two, I have no use for this animal and never want to see it again. Like, I don't ever expect it to come back.
That's about what Nick said when he sent me the bread lie.
It's the weird thing because like people are like, do you want me to send it back? I mean, I guess. Like, I guess I'll clean out a bin for it. It's like I don't ever expect it to come home. So yeah.
Right. Amazing. All right. Favorite and least favorite part about being a podcast host for 9 years?
Favorite part is that I get to talk and rub elbows with some very interesting people in a hobby, and also a lot of people that I respected for the longest time, looked up to, and got to know them all on a personal level. Mm-hmm. I get to do this all the time with one of my best friends. Like, it was, and even then, just the relationship that kind of sprung up from NPR with myself and Eric, and also with Carpet Fest and other things like that. So I would say that that is my favorite part, and I think definitely the most proud of thing I am is Carpet Fest. Because that's just an excuse for everybody to talk and have fun and relax and get to know each other, to the point where, I know if I needed to call some of these people up and for help or this, that, and the other thing, they're there. And I like that the most. The most annoying is to do this without trying to get canceled. I would say that it's the the one thing that definitely does annoy me, and people are like, do an episode on this. It's like, we've done 8 episodes on this. Like, have you, like, and also the one thing that it's one of those like backhanded comments that people will constantly tell you, is that people always want to tell you when they don't listen to the show. It's like, they come up and they're like, well, I know what you're doing, but I don't really listen to your show. It's like, thank you very much. Like, I didn't need to know that you don't listen. Like,
Right.
I don't ever assume people do. I'm pleasantly surprised when people come up to me, they go, I listen to your podcast. Cool, thanks, that's awesome, great, cool, thank you for the feedback, thank you for listening. But I don't want people to come up and be like, I don't listen. All right, like, I mean, do I give
not?
you? I give? I'm not gonna beg you. Do I give?
Yeah.
Do I give you a sticker and be like, he doesn't listen? Like, I don't. Whatever. I don't
that's
care.
Interesting. Yeah. Like, why would someone feel inclined to share that?
They also like to feel inclined of what episode they stopped listening. It's like, I haven't listened since like this episode. Cool, thank you. Like, okay.
I've experienced that a little bit with the band I play with. Like,
yeah.
Oh, cool. I don't listen to your band. I liked it until that album,
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's great. So
cool.
Yeah, that is strange when people think that's a good thing to say out loud.
Hey, you know what? I never listened to your podcast. Oh, that's right. Like, no, I just
Yeah.
You don't have one, but no.
In the same vein, I just have a couple more for you here.
Yeah.
Have you, and the answer to this, well, anyway, I'll just ask the question.
Just do it, yeah.
Ed Lucas, have you ever said something that you wish you could take back on air?
Fucking constantly.
Yeah, I was going to say I already know the answer, but
constantly.
I didn't want to be a dick.
There are entire episodes that I want stricken from the record. Constantly.
Is there one thing in particular that stands out?
Not in
something
particular,
that has given you levels of pain.
I mean, I've made jokes at people that have fallen flat, and then they get back to the person. Like, I think I called Eric Kohler a monster once, and it got back to him. He's like, so I'm a monster. I'm like, shit. And he now for the rest of my life, like, and he's a good guy, and he never, like, and he knew I was joking, but he likes to give me a hard time. So we were saying something, and he's like, well, you can figure that out. I mean, like, fucking I can, and I'm a monster. I'm like, you dick. Like, and that's just the way it is. So, if I have said anything that I think has upset somebody, I'm sorry. But yeah, like I said, there's a constant thing of just like, and I said that, and it's gone now, and it's out there, and I cannot ever bring it back. It was worse when we were at live, because then I would say it, and I would know that either the joke didn't land or what I said was stupid, and now it's gone, and I can never retrieve it. Now I can at least be like, Eric, you got to delete that shit that just happened, okay? Like, even then, that's a roll of the dice if he does it, but
Sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then the last one I got for you is out of the hundreds now, at 480-ish episodes of NPR, right?
Yeah,
something like that. Does one stick out as a favorite to you? Maybe one that you would recommend to somebody that has never heard the show to kind of get them on the train. Do you have a favorite episode of all time?
I mean, there are several episodes that I love. There's several guests that I love that have come on multiple times that have been fantastic. I think any Nick Mutton episode is great.
Yes.
And I mean, I would also say that talking with Cameron, talking with any of the guys over in Australia was awesome. There've been so many that it's hard to kind of go
that's
through.
a hard question.
I think talking with people like Eugene Bissett, talking with God, like, and I'm blanking on names right now too. Like, there's a lot of guys that, again, I looked up to in Herpetoculture that have done episodes with us, and they're awesome. And to hear the stories, why can't I think of names? Like, I have them all in my head. But I would say that there's a ton of anything of an old herper talking about how it used to be and how we got from where it used to be, where it was like, hey, we're building cages out of wood, and we didn't know it, like 100% humidity. I don't know, it didn't die. Keep going. It's like, it's like that. And then to where we are, where people people regurgitate knowledge like they're the ones who figured it out, but they don't realize what had to happen to get there. And it's like, that everything you take for
and they
granted,
don't question that
exactly
that knowledge that might not always be right.
Exactly. So like everything that you take for granted, somebody sat down and had to figure out to the expense of their own animals and their own collection and their own sanity. That's why it's like people are always talking about they're going to get these wild caught animals and they're going to establish them. They're going to make a ton of money. You do not know how difficult it is to establish a captive breeding program based off of wild import animals and the shit you're going to have to deal with, like tongue worms. You ever dealt with those? I haven't. Why? Because I don't do that. I'm not the kind of person that imports those animals that might have to be dealt with, but there are people that will. It's like, it's just one of those things. So I would say that there's a ton of different episodes, but some of my favorites are the ones where it's just me and Eric talking about stuff. So
okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, that was the long shot. That there would be one out of so many amazing.
I can't
hours
think. I mean, like
there's
so many, but like I have favorite moments in different episodes. Like when somebody asked me if I had a baby. I think it was one of the guys from Headhunter.
Like a human baby?
And my voice hit some sort of octave that I've never been at. And
no!
Human baby? And like, it was just like, and it's just, that's what Eric says. He knows when I'm starting to get annoyed or scared because my voice goes up, and it's just like, all right, didn't know that. And then it was having Eugene Bissett call me an unproven male breeder. And I'm like, damn it, he's right. So, and just a lot of stuff. Like, and the problem is that's why I really love the anniversary shows, because Rob brings them back to me, and it cracks me up the whole time because there's shit that I didn't realize. Also, there have been numerous times where I've just put my foot in my mouth where it's just like, I'll never get retics. I'm like, God damn it. Like, the hell is wrong with me? So, yeah.
Got it. Awesome.
Too many moments. So.
Well, great. And many more to be made.
Yeah. I mean, we're gearing down because the season's going to end pretty soon. We didn't record this week because we were ahead of the game, but we're staring down the barrel of a couple more shows and then the holiday special.
Excellent. Can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Well, this has been a great time.
This was cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. Hope it was enjoyable.
It was fun. It's fun. I got to handle my own snakes, and
nobody bit you.
Nobody bit me.
So, probably anybody that has made it this far already knows this, but Owen, MPR, Morelia Python Radio, Colliebrid. Broken. Lucas.
Got it. Broken. Okay. Yeah.
Colliebrid Corner and Carpet Cliff Notes.
There you go. Now you got them all.
Rogue Reptiles.
Yes.
Rogue-reptiles.com.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Rogue_Reptiles is the Instagram.
Dang it.
I only know it because I regurgitate it every week.
Yes.
It's like, I think at some point, one podcast I was on as a guest, they're like, how about you close this out? And I just started going, and I'm like, this is an NPR. In my brain, I'm like, this is an NPR. Don't end it this way. This is an NPR. Don't end it this way. So, yep.
Perfect. Yep. And then for me, Centralian Exotics on all the thingies. And if you're listening to this, go watch the YouTube video. It's fun. You can see snakes. And that's where I do most things anyway. So anyway, Owen, thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful